to the regular Village Council meeting, August 26, 2019. And we're getting a little late start here at 7:13. Thank you for bearing with us this evening. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and Captain
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right now, I can start a little bit there.
Please can we have a roll call, please?
Bryce?
Here.
Hudson?
Here, that's
Eshner? George?
Here.
Hayden? Robinson?
Here.
Marka? Here.
Okay, we didn't lose anybody. That's good.
Sure. I don't even know what.
All right, can we entertain a motion for the agenda?
Yeah, I know. And I don't know what to bring up. It's security and mission and my well tax.
We are going to, yeah.
And evidently see it on the camera.
The request is to move unfinished business D
Oh, I don't know. And then we
to
had
item
nothing-
12.
we had nothing to do that.
And then new business to become item 13.
I need. What about this?
That would be this one, yeah, the unfinished business D, the Craftsman Park Train. That's what the request was to. Bless you.
Do you need tissue?
All right, so the request is to move unfinished business D to 12, make new business item 13. Any others, issues?
Motion?
Okay, so we're flipping new business.
Just 12D would be the only one moved. Everything else would stay as is. 12D would become, I'm sorry, 13D would become 12, and then new business would become 13.
Okay, so it would be its own separate agenda.
Correct.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the agenda with the change to move the current item 12D, Crossman Park Drain, to become item 12, and then new business and subsequent would be 13, 14.
So 13D would be moved.
13D would be moved to become item 12, and the rest of the agenda items. Got that one?
Yes,
Do I have support?
Who supported?
I said, do I have support? Oh. I'll support.
Mark wanted.
I'm sorry.
Both parts, one.
All right, so a motion by Councilman Hayden, supported by Councilman Bryce. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next up is the approval of our minutes, and we have 5 meetings. The regular meeting from July 22nd, closed session from July 22nd, special meeting from July 25th, joint collaboration workshop from July 29th, and a special meeting from August 5th.
I did not see an issue with those minutes, so I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from regular meeting of July 22nd, closed session meeting of July 22nd, special meeting of July 25th, joint collaboration workshop of July 29th, and special meeting of August 5th as presented. Support.
Motion by Councilman Hayden, supported by Councilman Robinson.
Dan.
Was it you?
Yeah.
I'll never get it right. I swear you finally answered that one. All right. We're going to say supported by Councilman Eshman. Sorry about that. All right. Any further discussion on those? carries 7-0 to accept the 5 sets of minutes. Next up is the acceptance items. This evening will include our building department report, the ordinance violation report, the board minutes from the planning commission, the draft of August 6th, the DDA of August 22nd, and the Brandon Township of July 1st. Then following that, we have our disbursements. Entertain a motion for disbursements.
I'll make a motion to approve the disbursement report ending July 15, 2019, and pay the village bills in the amount of $20,274.71.
Support?
I have a question.
Any questions?
Number 11, cell phone stipend. I wasn't aware that we were paying an interim basis cell phone for the village president.
Yes, as the interim manager, I utilized the cell phone for both of the months that I was the interim manager, so therefore I did receive a stipend, as it's stated on there for June and July.
Who approved that?
Who council approved those expenses? Or is that what we're doing for the 90?
Well, we're approving the expense of that, but I guess it's like, yeah, like, that's news, I mean, that, we've never done that, where at an interim basis, that's like, you know, we've never done that.
Well, as that is the procedure for the manager, that is the position that was filled, therefore that's would be what is received per our procedure.
What procedure says that?
That there's a $20 monthly cell phone stipend for the manager. As the interim manager, you would continue to do those services. I believe I had 88 calls just in the first month in which I utilized my cell phone. So therefore, I received a stipend, as the manager would in that case. So it follows the same protocol.
And then you received the, on number 26 as well, the mileage stipend?
Correct. Yes.
Our procedures don't specifically refer to, I mean, I'm aware of the procedures and say for the manager, but it doesn't identify interim.
As you're performing the same duties, you would receive the same stipend.
I think that would be subject to interpretation. I do know when Wayne's covered, when we had absence in previous village managers, I know Wayne did not receive the cell phone or mileage stipend.
He did receive the cell phone. He did not take the mileage, as he said he walked quite often. And I did walk and drive both. So he did not, he said he did not receive the, but again, as
So you talked to Wayne about this?
I did, I asked, you know, what he had done. So like I said, in June alone, I drove 29 times to different locations or to, you know, complete services and to fulfill the duties.
So did that include driving around town and checking for light and all that? or?
Correct. It was answering responses, complaints, it was following through with the ordinance reports, it was answering questions and concerns that people had called into Liz that she had forwarded, multiple things as in what a manager duties would be.
I think in this case, if Wayne was considered to be eligible for both of those, but chose not to take the mileage one because he chose to not, I I do agree, maybe it's not clear on the personnel manual, so maybe that should be revisited at some point by the personnel committee to review that and get clarification in that. But in this case, I think that since that was a past practice with planning, we should probably take it out here.
Well, and that was one of the topics of discussion in one of the meetings, was to define the roles and responsibilities and who was going to do what and how it was going to be handled, and that really didn't get relayed. That was the whole point of us coming together, so everybody had a clear understanding of what roles and responsibilities were going to be done and how it's going to be handled, and it should have been, in my opinion, brought up in that meeting, so that everybody had a clear understanding going forward of what the expectation was, and Tanya going forward of what the expectation was. What she would be entitled to, such as that. And that was the whole point of calling a meeting for the roles and responsibilities to be defined. And yet that meeting did not address those. So to see it on here without that clearly defined, I think is presumptuous. Because we tried to be proactive on doing that all ahead of time rather than to have everybody on the same page at that time, and had the meeting went as what was intended, I think we could have addressed this. But to find out afterwards that we're taking the benefits of what the manager get, I think is presumptuous.
Well, in performing the manager duties, per our rules and regulations, the MML regulations and the state regulations, the president fulfills those duties when we do not have one. I fulfill the duties, therefore, I received far less than a manager would in income and pay. So therefore, I continue to do the job and requested very minimal input back. I feel it's very fair to our residents.
I don't think trustee Sporter is saying that he didn't deserve it. I think one
Well,
of
she
is
said
that
it's
we needed to-
presumptuous that I accepted to fulfill. If you do the
Presumptuous
job,
at
you
that.
receive the payment.
Right,
And
so if I
that was
can-
well
if I
done.
can finish. I think what the concern is, it should have been in terms of transparency, everybody should, rather than us seeing it here today.
It's very transparent. It's
But
all
you are
attached.
Transparent here, but I'm.
Because you already paid for it, there wasn't a chance.
All
I don't
of
think
the
anybody
logs
would-
are attached and available for our auditors. Everything was sent into the office. Everything was sent to Beth. Every single time that I went somewhere, what I did, it was all highlighted. It is very transparent. It is very up and up.
That's great, and the point was like to have it all at the beginning, at the onset of the roles and responsibilities of how it's going to be handled. That's the time to do that, not after the fact when the check's been written and and we were unaware of that.
Well, I will say that is, in the absence of a village manager, I'm sure Tanya put in many hours, unpaid hours, fulfilling that role. So I think this is rather minimal to allow or allow to her for all the time and effort she spent in fulfilling that role while we were in the absence of the village manager.
I agree.
So,
I guess my only comment is, I don't disagree that she doesn't deserve it. What I do disagree is the fact that it was not talked about as council as a whole in making the determination on
Right.
her own. That's what I have an issue with. Certainly, she did work, she covered for the village manager, I agree. But council as a whole should know when we're spending money and who we're doing it to. And now we got it here, we're good, we're gonna vote on it, right? But my point is, it shouldn't be a surprise to us seeing it for the first time here. We should all know. about
after
it.
it's been paid.
You should know, I fulfill the duties, therefore I receive the
That's an
exact items
assumption.
that we state in our rules and procedures that we state in the MML.
Well, and I-
And nothing was presumed by me, I followed the exact procedures that we follow.
And I would propose if there's concerns about the lack of transparency, that maybe we should redress that by reviewing our own personnel regulations and rules and update them so that things are more clear.
I agree.
We noted and placed on the
My
personnel
comment was
manual
only that
to
it's like we
define
had
it.
a meeting to address it, that's all, but we should have just been addressed there so everybody had a clear understanding and not just taking the benefits. So,
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor.
Are there any other questions or clarifications on the disbursement report? Hearing none, Liz, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ashman?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Hayden?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Skorica?
No.
Rice?
Yes?
Hudson?
Yes.
All right. Motion carries 6-1. Next up, we have our acceptance of our treasurer's report. Entertain a motion for that.
So as this is presented in front of us, and I just wanted to just bring up at the last regular meeting, we reviewed the treasurer's report, and we commented that, okay, to do this review, you need to be an auditor, okay, to review every line item. And this was in the past an acceptance items for the treasurer report, all right? And my thought moving forward, we as council should consider to move it back to an acceptance item without all this line item detail. Yes, the line item detail is there for us to review and accept it, but for us to review, I don't know how many line items there are out there. I mean, there's quite a few, right? You'd have to basically be an auditor to find anything wrong. So we would just be rubber stamping this, right, because of the amount of data that's here. So I propose, okay, after today, and we're gonna accept this, I'm sure, that we consider moving this back to an acceptance.
It is. It's number 8, does say acceptance. It doesn't say approval. It is an acceptance item, it's not an approval. So I'm not sure what Tanya had asked for, but
So
it
we're
is.
not voting on it then?
We're
We
not
don't need a
voting.
motion.
It's only an
Just accept it.
acceptance.
Well, what we have, according to this, no, it does say, it says acceptance of, and then there was a motion suggested, so it's a combination of the two. It
So
did not
It's
get
an acceptance, there's not a motion.
versus, correct. Yep.
Well, Dan, I would agree with you. I think that the
Yeah.
level of detail that we are now getting is probably excessive. I would be okay with eliminating that from the council packet. I still think it's, if somebody is on the council is interested in having that level of detail, they can always request it from the village staff. Correct. So I think that would be a better way, is maybe remove it directly from the treasurer's report, but have it available. So if anybody on the council wishes to review line-by-line items, that they can get that additional information. Does that sound reasonable?
No, I think it should be included in the packet.
Yeah,
It still should be
Dan
included.
even referred to it as that, you know, it's available, it's there, but, you know, just so
I
that
think
we're
it still
aware.
should be just.
So you'd like the items that are included in the treasurer's report? You would just like to make sure that it's moved
And
to
petty cash
acceptance
included in
items.
this as well, as we've requested in the past. It's not on this particular, the total is, but the transactions are not. I did receive, when I contacted the office, I did receive those, but it's not in the packet here. But personally, I'd like to see the information, the detail, because there has been, known to be, a couple questions on it, but I would like to see it included with the petty cash as I had asked for before. But other than that, it's just an acceptance item.
Madam President, if I might, I changed the wording of this from approval to acceptance. I think it's totally appropriate for the board to accept and file the treasurer's report. It does not require that you're saying that every single item is appropriate. It is you're accepting what's been reported to you. And I think that's appropriate for your moving on. But I do think it would be appropriate to have a motion to that effect, so that you have seen it, you acknowledge you've seen it, and you're accepting.
All right. So that kind of is a happy medium between the acceptance and the approval. Everybody's coping. All right. So, bear with us. This is a half of a change for us. So it's going to be an acceptance item with an approval.
I make a motion to accept and file the treasurer's report for the month ending July 31, 2019 as presented.
Support.
Cedric?
Well, then, that's right. We're making a motion to accept the date and everything. So if we're gonna do that each time, my recommendation, get rid of all this line item. I can't go through every line item and be able to say, yeah, there's just way too much data.
It's information.
Yes, but in this
We're
case,
just
we're not
accepting it.
approving, we're just accepting, we're just saying, yes, we received it.
All right.
And
You just
we're
acknowledge
it, sure will.
Acknowledging it.
But it's, you're not approving it, just proves it if you will.
All right, got it.
Okay. We have a motion on the table by Councilman Hayden, supported by Councilman Batsu. Do we have any further discussions, questions?
Dan, what's on line 5?
All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, next up we have our public comment. And at this time, it is agenda items only, please. So if you have something that you see on the agenda you'd like to share, go ahead and step up to the podium.
My name is Luann Mann. I live at 57 North Church Street. I've lived there for 24 years, and for 24 years I've dealt with Crosman Park's flooding on our property. I addressed an email and sent it to every council member earlier in the spring with photographs. Only one council person got back with me. I was very disappointed with my elected officials not at least stopping by and showing a little more concern. We've met, my father and I have met with Mr. Stewart, and he assures us, as we have met with many village managers and many village councils, that this is important to him and he is staying on top of it. And he has assured us that he is going to get a proposal together and bring it to the board. Best case scenario, you guys keep throwing around $100,000. Worst case, maybe $150,000. Unfortunately, it falls on you to make right what past councils have failed to do to keep the infrastructure of this village working properly. And I hope that you are being proactive right now with these kind of figures being thrown around to think about how this is going to be funded, because this is an issue that has to be taken care of. And you don't wait to get a mortgage payment and go, oh, how am I going to pay it? You know this proposal's coming. You got 3 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks. But I do hope that you are looking into what are we going to do about it, instead of getting the proposal at a meeting saying, oh, we don't have the money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob MacArthur, 445 Schoolhouse Street. I just noticed that schoolhouse drainage was also on your agenda. It's amazing that it keeps coming up. I don't know if you recall, I got onto the planning commission, Commissioner Slater asked me what the one thing that I would work the hardest on if I had $1 million. And I skipped over sewers because I think that's the most important, but drainage is what they have, is one of the biggest problems in here. Schoolhouse Street was repaved. We had a little bit of drainage problem on there initially, but now we have a lot. The road was raised 4 inches. And it created a huge issue because it raised it 4 inches above the sidewalks and above the driveways. At my residence, we used to have quite a deep catch basin. We stood out in front of my house with the builders, along with your DPW supervisor, myself, and tried to explain to the people that were doing the blacktopping that drain was higher than the road. And he insisted that there would be no drainage issues there, that they were gonna, everything was going to be fine. They ended up, when it was all said and done, they had to come in and grind out a portion of it around that catch basin, just so, and I think they gained like a half an inch, just so it could get, that little bit could get to the catch basin. The problem lies at least 100 feet to the east of me. Every time it rains hard, you have a miniature lake. Totally covers the sidewalk, totally covers the driveways. In August, probably not a real big deal because it'll soak up and be gone in a couple of days. But you get a freezing rain this winter and there's a problem. You're gonna have ice pond on your sidewalks, on these folks' driveway, and the pond comes clear out onto the road. It's going to be a huge issue, and I don't know what it was on the agenda for, if just to be discussed. But I want to reassure you that it is a problem. We spoke with the previous village manager to see if we could get something done, and indicated there really wasn't much they could do now because there's 4 inches of asphalt there that created this problem. So with that, I would certainly hope that if there's something that can be done, there's been several suggestions made of how it could be fixed. Obviously, you're not going to remove the road. You're going to have to, only way it would be done is some drain installed along the roadway or down the sidewalk or something to get that water. And the catch basin in my house, in order to make that work, will definitely have to be lowered because it's at the same level of the road. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Bob, if you don't mind sticking around for that, that was actually Dave Borst that brought that up, and I know you could assist, and I know Bob's here.
I didn't know that. I
questions,
have to
too.
talk to him.
Thank you. Any other public comments on agenda items at this time? All right. Thank you very much. Next is our consent agenda, and that consists of the special events permits for the annual Ortonville Hunger Walk and our village trick-or-treating. Entertain a motion for those.
Make a motion to accept, to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Butler, supported by Councilman Skornicki. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And next up, we have our trustee comments. Start by Colleen, please.
Historical Society met August 13th, and we had our annual picnic. And I don't know if everybody's driven by, but as I reported last month, the slab has been poured, the flooring and the footings have been poured as well. And as you know, that these services have been gratuitous in nature, in-kind services, so we've been able to save money on the blacksmith shop. And I would like to ask the council to consider a donation to the blacksmith shop. We are under budget to get this accomplished. We have decided to go with H&S Construction, and they're able to come in and complete the inside and outside for just under $2,400 or $24,000. Like I reported last month, we're halfway there and we need more money. And since the old mill is a village-owned property and the blacksmith shop is part of our community and our village property, I would like to have the council consider such as we donate to the BGYA as well as fireworks. So I would propose that, maybe $1,500. I think we give $1,500 for the fireworks. Is that a true?
I think it's
Or what do we give okay, so 1,000, and what do we give BGYA?
This year we gave them
2,500, okay, so anywhere between the 15 and the 2, somewhere comparable to that. I would like consideration from the council. What your thoughts and feelings are about that?
I would be for donating some of that. It is our heritage, and we should. That should be, yeah, I'm for donating.
So I guess I'll make a motion. I move to make a motion to make a donation for the blacksmith shop in the amount of $2,000.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Skornicka, supported by Councilman Ashman, for donation in the amount of $2,000 to the blacksmith shop. Any further questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Kyle, roll call vote, please.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Skorica,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Ashman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
I'm sure they will be very happy when I report that next month. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
I don't have
I'd just like to comment on the roads, and I know I did bring up the schoolhouse drain in our last meeting, and I did have some conversation with Bob Foxwell as it relates to opening up a drain that is buried underneath one of the tennis courts there. And at that point, we decided that we were going to wait to open that up until after the basketball tournaments were over. I believe they are now over. I'd like to ask our village manager to discuss with Bob to see what that next opportunity for him and his team would be to open that up. At that point, at that time when I talked to Bob, he seemed to think that there might be a restriction there that could open things up where the backside of the homes from schoolhouse, where there's flooding, that might be able to help that piece of it anyways. It doesn't take care of the road part, but it may help the backside of the homes off the schoolhouse there. And then in addition, on the roads, the roads continue to deteriorate. I know Bob and his team are doing their best to keep patching it up, but there are sections that are worse than others in high traveled areas, and I hate to say that, and I don't want to be biased, but it's right in front of my home. There's chunks of asphalt falling out on a regular basis, and I don't know how many tons, pounds, whatever, that they're filling in there. Something needs to be done there, even if it's on a temporary basis that needs to be looked at. And I'd welcome any of the trustees to actually walk it. Driving it, you're not going to see it, but if you walk it, it's there, it's something. I know there's other sections that need to be reviewed as well, and I think we ought to look at them in terms of public safety and which ones should take priority over others.
Thank you.
Okay, planning commission met, and we have a couple items. One of them is definitely going to be on the agenda tonight, which is the reappointment of two of our commissioners whose terms expire and need to be renewed. And the feedback, which I'm sure we'll see back when we get that item, is that the planning commission would like to see their appointments renewed because they've been doing a good job on there. We started a review of the planning commission bylaws. We are doing some cross-checking against the Planning Enabling Act to make sure that our bylaws are consistent with all the legal requirements and things like that. So we are in review and expect that we will have an updated bylaws soon. And once that's approved, we should see it at our council here. It was brought up to have a wayfinding science committee. So there was some discussion about what people could be on it, and I think that it was encouraged to have as many people participate as possible so we can get a good cross-section between all of our boards and the wayfinding science committee. It shouldn't be an issue because we would plan to have all of those as open meetings anyways. There was a discussion about zoning. We had an issue with zoning ordinances tonight with the ZBA, and some of those things not clear. And we started the discussion that once the master plan is approved, we will need to start the process of reviewing the zoning ordinances. We talked about our first step would be to do an internal review first to sort of review and get some of a high-level overview of exactly how much rework it's going to need before we go out and start looking for potentially somebody to partner with to work on it. We also reviewed the recent modifications made to the master plan at the last review by the council and went over them. So the planning commission has a kind of like a preview of what to expect when we do get the final copy. So we reviewed that. And then another item that was brought up by citizens here is the capital improvement plan. We went over that. We have been doing some formatting, some updates on that. We do have the drain in the capital improvement plan, and we do have funding allocated for the 2018-2019, which means it should have been completed soon, but obviously there's been some delays and stuff. But we do have it in the capital improvement plan, so we have the budget allocated. As to Dan's point about streets, there's also all the streets are in there. Obviously, with funding, it's a little challenging, but we do have, as much as possible, all these different items in the capital improvement plan looking forward. So hopefully we can start tackling some of these bigger projects once we have that capital improvement plan in place and start working on some of those projects. And that's pretty much what we covered the last planning commission.
From a Parks and Rec standpoint, I think the biggest item would be the September Fest. It's the 30th annual September Fest coming up on the fourth Saturday in September. It's always big, and I think it's going to be really good this year. Secondly, I think if you've just been following the papers and talked to Fred on this, on the Brandon Community Park, they can definitely use financial contributions to help them with the completion and continuation of the project in this park, as well as manpower to come out there and assist them. So that's about all I've got.
Thank you, sir.
Dale and I met with the Fire Authority Board on Friday for the new budget. I'm not going to surprise anybody, but we'll be talking about it tomorrow at our joint meeting. So, Dale, if you have anything to add,
The chief is looking at some additional equipment that is going to be needed over the next few years, and he's laid out a plan that could require the increase in the special assessment district to fund if particularly you're looking at funding on a cash basis. On a cash basis, of course, saves you a great deal of interest over the period of time. But all of that will be before you and review. The committee is making a recommendation for approval of those items too.
Thank you. And as we have no better place to do that, we would like to welcome Dale Stewart on behalf of Personnel Committee and Council. And we'd like to introduce you to everybody. And if you wanted to give a quick hello.
Greetings. I'm here.
Any background, any information you want to share with us or no?
I have been a city manager in a number of communities. I was township supervisor in Independence Township for 12 years, and I was on the board as a trustee for 8 years, not immediately before that, but in that area. I've been city manager in 3 different communities now. I'm happy to be in Ortonville, and I look forward to the challenges that will face us.
Thank you. Well, very happy to have you.
If you want any more information, give me a call.
Thanks, Dale.
If I started talking about my grandchildren, we wouldn't end the meeting tonight.
And I also would like to do a quick update. Lieutenant Glover, if you do not mind stepping forward. We did have a couple concerns in the community, and you kind of update us.
Yeah, 307 Mill Street has been a topic of discussion with our substation for the past 2 years. That group home's been there since roughly 1980.
When I was a patrolman out here in the late 90s, mid-90s, we never had complaints there. The only thing we went there for was medicals. That has changed over the last 2 years. I mean, we've had calls anywhere from prostitution there, of having a prostitute in the home, to theft, to trespassing, walking into someone's home. But in particular, over the last couple of weeks, we've had them using credit cards that aren't theirs at local businesses, alcohol, drinking on the premises, as well as up and down the sidewalks, as well as visiting the local pub. We had one of the gentlemen walk into someone's home unannounced. They turned around and heard the guy standing in their living room. And then we also had one dealing with one of their past residents who is a registered sex offender. And he's not a resident at 307 Mill Street, but he is buddies with somebody that lives at 35 Narren. So there's all kinds of drinking and partying going on at Narren with residents from the group home. We arrested both of those individuals that were causing problems, one of them being a sexual assault crime on a 75-year-old village resident walking down the sidewalk. We arrested him, we charged him. He is still in the Oakland County Jail on a high cash bond. He's not going to be getting out anytime soon. And we have tried to deal with the resident that we arrested also at 35 Narren. And I don't know if anybody on the board knows that, but at 35 Narren, there's a garage in the back that has a big antique sign on it, and the actual homeowner has been allowing his son to stay in that building. There's no water or anything in that building. We searched it when we made the arrest. He has assured me at 35 Narren that won't be an issue there. But and I have not had good dealings with contacting Laura on multiple levels. I took it upon myself to contact, to seek out the owner of 307 Mill Street. And Nicolette is here today. She called me back, came into the substation, we had a meeting. She assured me that those issues would be taken care of. They have been. We met, went down to the house, kind of laid down how things are going to go on from here out. She has terminated one of the main problem employees that were allowing these things to take place, and is in the process of removing, I believe, at least one of those residents that we've had problems with. So I just wanted to make you aware of what's going on there. We were to the point where, especially with the former resident there, that I was worried that they were either going to sexually assault a kid or another individual, so we arrested him as quickly as possible. But I wanted the board to be aware of what we're doing with that home, and that the owner is on real good terms with us, and she is doing all of the right things to take care of that issue. And so far, I mean, since that conversation, we haven't had any issues. So it's been a couple of weeks. But I mean, we see these people. I've had a concern of that resident since I've come back out here. You know, these people walk all over this community, you know, unsupervised. And there's always potential for something. We never knew that there was a registered sex offender even living in that house, but there was. And then somehow he ended up removed from the home, but ended up back in our community. So he has been taken care of for now, but I want you to be aware of that.
So other than the verbal comment, they're taking care of it, what specifically, or what specific actions have they shown you that they're going to take care of it? And typically, when you have residents in a home like that, you have them sign a contract. You breach that contract, you're out of there, right? And if that type of contract or that type of plan is not in place, and there's no, really recourse on those residents that are in violation of what you're talking about, well, I don't have confidence that it would be corrected, even though you got some lip service right now.
Well, I mean, the lip service she took action on, so I mean, which I have not had that happen at other group homes, I can tell you that. And you'll get lip service, all right, nothing will happen. Here, I saw it with my own eyes. She asked us to go down to the residence. She advised one of the supervisors that was there of how things are going to go. Part of the problem, what happened was the owners that own that group home divorced. The husband of that half pretty much took care of the group home. It was mainly on him. While the divorce was going on, since the divorce, he wasn't part of the picture there. He wasn't making regular visits, and now it's in Nicolette's hands, and she's taking care of it. So there is a difference there, and hopefully it will continue. If it doesn't continue, believe me, we will take action. We have, and it will continue. we wanted to afford her the opportunity to deal with her one-on-one other than Laura. I mean, we've contacted Laura over other issues, you don't get anywhere. So figured with her, I mean, all of the problems there stem from who is running the home as supervisors at the home on, that's on duty there. Up until the last couple of people that were running that, we had no issues. But, those people, I don't believe most of them are capable of ordering a prostitute off of Backpage.com to stay there for 2 days. Somebody's doing that, and somebody's providing the alcohol for them or allowing them to go purchase it. We were getting calls once a week from the Marathon of asking us whether or not they legally can even purchase alcohol because they're in there buying beer and wine. If they have an ID and they're of age, there's nothing that says they can't. So that's what was going on. So she made it clear to them there will be no drinking on those premises, and we told them that if we saw them drinking in public, we'll deal with it, in the law enforcement way. So.
What type of rules do they have and curfews and that kind of thing?
She would have to answer that. I can't answer that. Yeah, I mean, I never see them out late, usually.
Okay. So hello, I'm Nicolette Schaff, and okay, so I actually took possession of the home August 1st. So it's very new. I did not know all the things that were going on because I haven't been involved with the home for the last 4 years actually. So it's been fairly unsupervised in terms of staffing. But I'm a social worker by trade. I'm a clinical therapist, and I work for the Genesee Intermediate School District. And so when we actually purchased the home about 15 years ago from the Atkin family that lived right behind them, I was very heavily involved for the first 10 years, and we had no issues. I mean, the guys there are good guys, but I think it starts with, we've had people there that have been there for 35 years. I mean, some of those guys have been there forever, they're good guys. But we have, the last few years, it's been up to the staff that are running the home to do assessments for people coming in. The paperwork is not being, completed appropriately. When you first assess a client, you're supposed to go through a whole series of questions. Obviously, have you ever been in trouble with the law? Where you come from? I mean, there's a whole plethora of questions that we utilize to see if they're a good fit for a community. And so that wasn't happening. But, so, I mean, now that I'm here, I definitely will be. I mean, I've already evicted someone, already replaced staff. We have a plan for how we're going to maintain the property. It needs updates. I mean, inside it needs complete updates. So we have like a phase 1, phase 2 that we're going to be working through. I'm going to install cameras on the outside of the home because I want to know who's coming in and out. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to restrict adults in our community. All I can do is make sure that the ones that are there are managed appropriately, medication-wise, and then just we focus on behavioral health. That's all we can do. I mean, that's what these guys are here for. So we're going to provide as much structure as possible, like it used to be. I mean, these guys have chores. They do things. They pick up their cigarette butts. They rake the lawn. They mow. They do. I mean, this is their home, and they've been there for many. I mean, some of them for decades. So we want to get back to kind of having that pride for the home and things like that. And they need support, structure, and supervision. And so that's what, I mean, we've been going there every single day practically, checking to see who's there, checking the groceries, doing med audits. I have random people coming that I work with, nurses, social workers. I just want to see what's going on, who's doing, right, and who needs to be replaced, and what shift changes, and all those kinds of things. So I'm just kind of assessing those things. So,
I mean, my concern for the last 4 or 5 years has been those individuals walking around absolutely non-supervised. I mean, I watch these people walking by, all the kids coming out of school, walking up down the sidewalks, and eventually, like we had a couple of weeks ago, a woman is sexually assaulted. It's a fear factor. I mean, it just is. But we normally have not had those problems. I think she's going in the right direction with that. And as long as that continues, we won't have an issue with it. If it does continue and we start seeing them in our local businesses, which is rare, causing issues, then we'll deal with it. I don't know what else to do with it.
I just want to say though that person was not a resident of the home that sexually assaulted someone. He was a former resident, and he did not stay in the home very long.
Yeah.
From my understanding,
But irregardless, I mean, he's a registered sex offender. He did stay there at one time. He has done 10 to 12 years in prison for sexual assaults. I mean, it is what it is at this point. He's in jail where he should be, but it worked out and we were able to take care of him.
Well, we highly appreciate you responding to residents' concern and to our concern. We really do appreciate that. And like I said, I just wanted to touch base and clear that up for residents that had concerns.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I am a mother, so I know what it's like to have children in a small community like this, so I am on it.
Thank you.
She is, I vouch for her.
Yeah, you can call him,
Well.
he can get ahold of me anytime.
Yeah, she's kept in regular contact with me, so not an issue.
As a resident on Mill Street, I really appreciate it.
Good.
I have a question, since you brought up that sexual assault that occurred. Very unfortunate, and hope that doesn't happen, but you said that you weren't aware that that there was a sex offender that was living there, had been. Total different subject, but do you know how many sex offenders are within the village limits, and if so, where they're located?
Not off the top of my head.
Especially with school approaching too for children.
I get an update about every 3 months of where they're at throughout the township and the village.
Because you can do it online and check it out too. I was just wondering, asking you. It's like, but yeah, you watched it.
I haven't looked at it lately for the village. Our detectives try to do regular checks on those. The problem with the registered sex offenders is a lot of times they'll use an address to where like a family lives, and that's where they'll register, but they don't actually live there. And we run into that a lot. And we run into some that don't register at all, and the warrants are out there for them. So it's always an ongoing issue with that.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you
for everything you're doing.
Yep, thank you.
All right, and next up is our moved unfinished business D, which is the crossing country. That will be our item number 12.
Nice meeting you.
Sure, thanks.
I apologize to the council.
See you later.
For bringing this on at the last minute, but we just received the information that I had for you last Friday, and I think it's important enough that we continue to move forward on it. We tried to contact Rowe Engineering to have them review not their proposal of $153,000, but because the route that they were talking about in that proposal, we found out from the Oakland County Health Department they would not allow us to do because of the septic system along the route. And so we made a contact with them, did not get any response back. In the interim, Mr. Hawkswell contacted Keep Engineering from Clarkston to have them come out and give us some preliminary information. And what we discern is it's important that we obtain a topographical study and elevations in order for us to affect a design and a plan so we can take that plan out for bids. And even though I saved you in this for an amount not to exceed $4,668, we then got the actual service agreement from them, and their proposal is, their estimate of cost is $5,000 for this topographical survey. The second item is to provide the drainage plans, dealing both with the Oakland County Health Department and whoever else needs to be contacted. I'm not asking you tonight to approve that second portion in the topographical study, or in the drainage plans. What we do need is other basic information so that we can put together a proposal, get out to get some estimates back, and we may well be coming back to you with this, but we'll also talk to Rowe again and see what cost element they have. And I would hope that by the next board meeting, we would have that plan in place and be able to give you something to move forward on. We're hoping that we can get enough information in all of these programs so we'll know something that possibly the council could look at to do yet this fall, so we don't come into a new spring with the park flooded without any changes. But it's going to have to move along, and that's why I'm going to bring it to you. So what I'm asking you tonight is to approve a cost not to exceed $5,000 for the topographical study and the preliminary plans, so that we can determine what alternative routes we may want to look at, and then bring a proposal back to you to get those plans ready for for a bidding process. We have to answer any questions.
So Dale, are we looking at our own DPW to do the actual contract work, once we come up with?
We don't know yet. If our
Because this late in
DPW
the season, trying to get a contractor, it's gonna be.
right? There's a lot of these things that we can do, there's some of these things that we're not gonna be able to do. And at this point in time, not knowing what the route will be or what the process is gonna require, there's no way for me to tell you whether or not we can do, what portions we can do. If there are portions we can do, certainly that will be one of our considerations.
I ask a question, because I did walk the area, and I walked the 2 routes back with President Bryce and Bob, and I do understand the concern over a septic field being in the way of the most direct route to the creek, but no one has really laid that out to say, okay, it's right here, do some measurements, and then what if any would Oakland County accept? So for example, if we move the pipe from, instead of going directly, maybe we want a little bit, 10 feet. And that could save the village a lot of money. It'd still be very effective. There's a 15-foot drop there.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And septic fields only go 4 feet.
Right.
Right? So we have a lot of drop, and my thought is, I just don't want to exhaust the opportunity to go directly to that creek if there's an alternative that might save our village some money. Yes, we have to get it fixed, but I just don't want to abandon that most direct route
No.
if we can shift it one way or another.
And the engineer from Keith Engineering indicated, similar to the gut reaction that both Bob and I had and you were expressing, is that if you're that much difference in the level of the septic and this, why can't you do it? And the engineer from Keith thinks that there are some of these things that we can convince Oakland County to agree to. So we're not going to abandon any plan. I don't have any specific route or anything to talk to you about now, but I'm very confident, and I think Bob can tell you as well, that he's confident that what the discussion we had with them is that we're going to get the most cost-effective way to deal with it from them.
And just one other quick question. Rowe Engineering's been our engineering company forever. How come we're getting the sidestep with the Rowe and we have to go to this engineering firm?
Well, I'm not sure I have an answer to that. I can tell you that Bob made several contacts with them. I asked him to follow through on that, to get the information, because I wanted to get their proposal of what they would do. And for whatever reason, from their staff level, they never bothered to call back. And after we had waited for a week or more to get a response, in fact, we initially got a promise that they were going to send somebody out here to talk to us about it. That didn't happen. And so we went on another source. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I think it's important enough to the village to happen that we can't afford to wait for somebody else's convenience. And that's why I'm bringing this to you, because I think this is a good positive step that will give us facts, give us information as to where things are, what's the topography, and the rest that we need to evaluate other alternatives.
And I can also speak to that. Our contact with Rowe has been going on since the beginning of July. The senior engineer had no idea what the drawings were when I was discussing with him. He's never seen them before. He did not show up with the Cedar Street engineer to assist them. So the homeowner was able to just go ahead and break off and get their septic installed and not have to worry about that. And then, it continued along that line. So unfortunately, their workload is very heavy, and they have not been responding to us in 2 months. And we don't really have 2 months to wait, so.
No, I don't
I think
disagree
it was
with the
great that
decision.
Bob decided to, see what else is possible to look at and work with somebody that, he's experienced with.
No, I don't disagree with the decision to move forward. We have to, right? I just question is, okay, we're throwing this picture, right?
They just
Well, that's
haven't.
where we started, but
Yeah.
when it didn't come to anything, and not even any response, that's why we chose. If you have any other questions, or if you have anything to add, Bob, I asked him to be here this evening, just because he has more history with it all, to explain to you why we're really trying to do this now.
Would you like to step up?
We've never used Keith Engineering before, I don't believe, so.
Oh, we have.
Have we?
Yes, we have. They're pretty good.
Okay, what did we use them for? I was just
Something
getting-
similar, but when I was on the planning commission, we used
Okay, I
them.
was just gonna ask if Dale had any history with them. So it's
Yes.
like, okay, so we have used them before, okay.
And they're a long-established firm that's located, their office is
They're local,
located
which is
in
nice.
Clarkston. I'm familiar with the engineer that you talked to, Pat McWilliams, dealt with him for many years. And that's a quality firm. I mean, and the nice thing is, they know Oakland County and they know what these different people will do and what they won't do. And they're used to them as well.
Part of the reason to get these numbers together, the grade, the elevation changes, the grades, the inverts of all the structures and the ends of the pipes and stuff, get that located. Regardless who builds it or who draws it, those numbers, they should be, that should have been done a long time ago. So you know, there's, and
I agree.
Mr. McWilliams was talking to you know, like when you're dealing with the county, you're gonna get a lot more love from those guys if you have a nice, drawn up formal thing that you can pin to the wall and you can stand there and look at it, and it's got everything located on it,
Visually.
instead of a grainy photograph this big with the ballpoint pen marks on it. They're not gonna buy that. They're not gonna listen to it. And he said they have there's a guy in their office who has a really good relationship with the sanitarians in this area and all around. And they will bend and they will allow, if you use the right pipe and the preferred fittings and the right pipe that's not steam, just like we talked about that one morning. He goes, he kind of threw his hands up, he goes, this is just water, we gotta get down a hill. That's the easiest way for water to go, is down a hill. And they need those numbers. So regardless of who does it, you need those numbers. And then he has some, he said that he should be able to have 3 other alternative routes after you can show the sanitarian guys. And some people have a better relationship with those kind of people than others. And so it's probably, I mean, I really enjoyed talking to him. I think you know, they're square shooters.
So I have one more quick question outside of this one, and I talked about the drain on the basketball court. Could you comment to that a little bit more? I mean, I commented based off of our discussion, but is there something you can add to that so that council's aware?
Well, for a number of years, there's been problems with the water. It comes off of Cedar Street, and it comes basically through Mr. MacArthur's yard, under, you know, and it comes out and then it angles up through the playground at Sherman Park, right next to that giant cottonwood tree that's there. Then it kind of zigzags its way to the north side of the ball garage and stuff. And we've had a camera through from the, well, there's one structure that we raised up like 12 or 14 inches a few years ago because it was so deep in the ground, people were falling in. So we raised it up a little. Just the structure, not the pipe. And we've had a jet through there and a camera through there from both ends, from Cedar Street in to the basketball court, and from schoolhouse all the way through the structure that we raised up, and, you know, on the playground. They get within 6 or 8 feet of one another, and they won't go any further. And I've been told by some of the town fathers that have been around forever that, yeah, there is a structure in there, and there's from what I was describing to me, there's 4-inch tile that comes from all in the baseball fields and gathers up in this thing, plus of the 12-inch, I think it goes down to 8-inch there, but it comes in from across the schoolhouse. That goes into this cistern, for a better word. It's a big tank. And then there's one outlet that goes west, kind of southwest, out of the tank, we think, and crosses Cedar Street, and then goes on down the hill west of the property, 2 doors south of the market. And it's been it gets to the point where it just won't take water anymore. So you have it in there, and what it is, it's just with all these years and years of debris that has washed into it, just like you can suck it. You can take a machine and clean out a catch basin anywhere in town, or you can shovel it out. Well, this has got asphalt over it, so we don't really know exactly what's going on in there, but there's a problem right there. And we've done this over the years probably 3 times over the years since I've been here, and we get to the same spots every time. So it's kind of logic just tells you that the problem starts there. Because the rest of them are clean. I mean, you see you watch the camera when it's going through there, after he jets it out, and it's just clean and good-looking pipe. And we've had it was crushed, that pipe was crushed when they put the engineered field in for the ball garage. It was crushed there, we dug that up and fixed it. And then there was closer to, kind of between where the problem is now and Cedar Street, we dug that up and replaced it several years ago as well. So we're sneaking up on that, but it's.
So one of the other discussions we did have is once you do find it, right, we don't want to bury it and blacktop it back over to where you can't access it. And we talked about putting an access manhole cover, okay, non-slip, non-skid, whatever. The boys and girls are going to be playing basketball on the court, but we don't want to bury it back up such that we can't get to it and clean it out, right? So that we might, or Bob might have to come to council and say, hey, we might need to add some costs to repair that and put a manhole cover in that area.
I mean, it'd be nice just to have it located, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something we just started doing crack fill and stuff. We need to get that done as quickly as possible before the weather changes. But we can do that even when the weather's kind of bad. But it's gonna take pumps, so we're gonna have to pump it out, cut it out. And we probably won't get the asphalt fixed back till spring, but it's gonna be winter. So if we get it.
Yeah. All right,
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so let's cycle back to the Craftsman drainage and the,
I move to approve the amount, let's see.
Not to exceed 5,000.
Yeah, I move to approve that we engage Keith Engineering for an amount not to exceed $46.68 for crossman drainage issues.
We need 5,000.
I thought they told us.
That's
We actually got.
Oh,
That-
okay,
that-
but this is what I have in front of me.
That number was a field estimate, and he told me that it would be emailed either
Okay.
Friday or Monday
Okay,
with the proper amount.
all right, I amend my motion to say not to exceed $5,000.
and who's fighting over supporting,
Let
number 3.
Mark take that. You're on the streets.
We're gonna go with Dan, the street man. All right. So we have a motion on the table by Councilman Skornica, supported by Councilman Ashman. Liz, would you quickly mind reading that before we have a roll call to verify?
A motion to engage Keith Engineering for an amount not to exceed $5,000. Do we want to put the wording for a topographic survey in there?
That wasn't the rest of my motion. Do you have the rest of it?
Oh, I apologize. I guess I don't.
For Crossman Park drainage.
Are we continuing with Mill Street Drain, as that's been called, or are we?
We've been calling it Crossman.
I thought Mill Street was a
Yeah.
separate drain issue. We gotta get these drain issues fixed.
All right, so would you read that first one more time?
Motion to engage Keith Engineering for an amount not to exceed $5,000 for Crossman Park drainage.
Correct? Kelly?
Mhm.
Okay.
If I could add a comment, I didn't get a chance to comment
I was just
before the
gonna ask,
motion.
we have comments or
So,
questions?
I would like to add that I think that it is really important to continue to engage the Franklin County Sanitarian because obviously they do have legitimate concerns about having any type of a drainage past that close to a septic when it's dumped directly into Kearsley Creek, which we already have concerns about with the E. coli levels that they've been reading in our testing. So I think that I would agree that if we had a really good plan to ensure that there was no possible contamination, county would probably be flexible, but I think that that's a very important concern. We need to work closely with the county to make sure that that happens.
I think that
Yeah,
was
very
definitely
important, yeah,
that's discussed.
That's why we're doing it, and especially with Keith doing engineering.
Yeah.
They're excellent people. They're in Oakland County. They know people.
And I was saying the same thing that Dale mentioned, is that they're going to be more in touch with what Oakland County
And
regulations.
they also know everything as well, so good.
Thank you, Dale, for getting this out to us quickly. Appreciate that, so we can
Any other questions? or
get one
comments?
done and continue on with the next ones.
All Liz, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Hayden,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Skorica,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes?
Wetzel,
Yes.
Ashman,
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion carries 7-0. And we thank you very much, Bob and Dale, for all of the work that you've done. Moving faster. All right. Next up, we will begin 13, which is our new business, starting with the street administrator resolution. Liz, is that you? Or Dale?
Is that-
Act 50, well, Act 51.
It's primarily the name and village manager, the administrator. Yeah.
Did you want to?
I move to
I don't
approve.
have anything on it.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything first. Okay.
I move to approve the resolution designating village manager Dale Stewart as the Village of Ortonville acting and street administrator.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Skornica, supported by Councilman Robinson. Any questions, concerns, thoughts? All right, hearing none, can we have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much, Dale, for taking that over. Next up is the 2018-19 audit. And Beth, would you like to step up at all and share anything, or do you want us just to do your thing?
I can step up, there's not a whole lot to. On Monday and Tuesday, the 12th and 13th of August, we had our auditors here that did our physical paperwork audit in the office. Only took them 2 days, and they are planning on, they thought about September's meeting, but they thought that might be rushing it. So they are planning on presenting at the October meeting, council meeting.
What's your
It went
initial
smoothly,
obvious?
there was no snags, no nothing. So,
Thank you. We appreciate you getting them all set up and organized as you do. Thank you.
anybody have any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you. C is the liability insurance payment. You have the packet in front of you for that. And this is year 3 of the 3-year guaranteed rate with Stevenson Company for MI/PAR plan liability coverage. The MCCA premium did increase by $24. Our agent Bob Bucco did suggest that the MI/PAR plan begin cyber coverage, which is protection against ransomware, et cetera, and to add that on this fall.
Was that the $24 increase?
No, that was the MCCA increase, which is something he doesn't have any control over, and there's an explanation of that coverage on the back.
So this is, to me, this is an obvious one to go ahead and approve. It's 3 of 3, it's only plus $24, but because it is 3 of 3, and we are in the final 3rd year of the contract, if you will, with them, has there been any discussions in either bidding it out or trying to extend with minimal increases moving forward? And if there hasn't, maybe that's something that we need to consider now before the policy runs out or the contract runs out.
We can certainly explore that with them if you so direct.
That's up to, I'm just thinking now's the time to do it as opposed to waiting till the very end.
I think we should always shop around and, it's like, we don't have to be loyal, so if they can match it, then that's great, but still we should shop around for good prices.
And do we want prices with or without the cyber coverage?
I think we gotta keep our apples to apples, regardless if we have it or with.
Is that something we're interested in getting a quote on as well? That's what I was asking, to have the cyber coverage, or are we not interested and we just want to do either? That's why I was saying either both or what?
I guess I'd
I would
like
say
more
include.
information on, I mean, it's like, yeah, I
We
would say
never know
include
what
it,
that
but-
costs, right?
but
But we would probably add that on in a later meeting.
But as we're getting quotes for it, I'm just asking, which way would you like to see
Would
it?
you-
So both? Okay.
Yeah.
Included? Okay.
I'm talking about the path forward after
Right.
three.
And
then
then
there's gonna be
exhausted our
other things to do.
contract.
Perfect. All right, and then that would be, it started on July 1st, so that has to be completed by spring. All right, so on our year 3 of 3, do we have a motion for the $24 increase?
I make a motion to enter into MI Power Plan Agreement for liability insurance coverage from October 15, 2019 to October 15, 2020 in the amount of $7,717.
Support.
No, it said July 1st. It said July 1st, this says October 15th, okay. So, my apologies, it's October. Motion on the table by Councilman Hayden, supported by Councilman Ashman for an October 15th to October 15th coverage. And
I just have a question. We had any claims on this in the last year either. Is that correct? We haven't had any claims?
That would be correct.
Claim free.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, Liz, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Robinson?
Yes.
Swarnaco?
Yes.
Rice?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Ashburn?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Hayden?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have Planning Commission reappointments. We have 2 planning commissioners, which terms have expired and are requesting reappointment by the planning chair. Commissioner terms typically end on June 1st. The Planning Commission voted unanimously at the July meeting to recommend the council reappointment of Commissioners Bob MacArthur and Patty Olson. 2 additional 3-year terms, which would end on June 1st, 2022. And we have a recommendation letter from Lee Palshin, and the Planning Commission also unanimously voted to reappoint as well.
I'd like to ask a question. Was there any work to seek out any alternatives? Not to say that these 2 candidates are good, but to mix things up and, over time, if you keep the same people over time, then, things may go one way or another, right? So was there any work from the Planning Commission to seek out any additional people from the public interested to fill those positions?
Well, both of these people are new. There are 2 newest people. They're both filling terms of people that have were not available. And at that point, what we did was request to see if they were interested in returning. And then from there, if they were not interested in returning, then we would reach out.
So again, my question was there anything done from the Planning Commission to seek out any other outside public people from the village interested for these positions?
And my answer was no, as they are both 2 new people, that we did not seek further.
I can add, we did discuss the topic about whether anybody on the Planning Commission was aware of any other people that may be interested in the Planning Commission, because there's always a possibility that we may have vacancies come up, and we were unsure about whether they both wanted to continue or not. We did consult amongst ourselves whether we knew of people. We didn't formally go and post anything, but we did not have any alternative ideas that we discussed either.
Wouldn't posting be a good idea? I mean, for somebody new, fresh faces? I know what you said, Todd. There could be somebody out there that's been dying to get out there, and maybe an opportunity.
Well, if I would say from my past experience, when we have had openings for Planning Commission or even BDA, it seems often that we have a hard time finding candidates, and we sometimes go unfilled with an open position out there for months. So I think the fact that we have two people who are doing the job now are interested, and especially with the finalization of the master plan, they were involved in part of that process. I think it would be prudent for us to accept the recommendation of the planning commission at this time. Of course, we always should be seeking and trying to get people from the community involved, but it's not always easy to find people who are willing to volunteer their time.
So what you're saying is that there was no posting out there, and you talked about it, but you didn't solicit, and the planning commission had concerns over a vacancy that could last maybe a month or two, but during that month or two time period, would it put you under the minimum five-person requirement?
I don't see there wasn't a
I
concern
think there was a
from
concern.
the
So you would
commission.
still meet the minimum five-person requirement for the planning commission during those 2 to 3 months, is that correct?
Is there a reason why the council does not want to see the?
You had a concern over the void for 2 or 3
There
months. I
was
wanted to
not a
understand what the
concern, it wasn't even
was.
a conversation.
Trustee Hayden's concern was to leave those 2 seats vacant for 2 to 3
That
months.
was not what I stated. What I stated is that in the past, when we have had vacancies, they have remained open for months because it's been hard finding people who are willing to participate and serve. And so since we already have 2 people who are relatively new, are willing to serve on the commission, why not let them continue in that function?
And I don't think planning commission would have a conversation. We have 2 people who are perfectly capable and perfectly willing and available and interested in continuing. We wouldn't say, I'm sorry, we'd like to look elsewhere when they're doing great at what they're doing. I wouldn't expect that out of any committee.
I'm always for giving everybody a chance. If you don't know, you don't know. They're probably, they're very good planning commission. But there could be somebody out there that we don't know about, or we could know about, if we don't at least try. I was looking for the transparency thing. Lee Balshan's been a planning commissioner for 49 years or something. I mean, he's been on the planning commission for a long time. And I was actually expecting him to see him here tonight.
I think I did receive communication that he was unfortunately unable to attend tonight. I think he had planned to be here.
Madam President, if I might just suggest something, I would suggest that the council let me take a look at all of this process and all of what we're doing. In other communities, what is developed is a list of upcoming openings. And we might be able to put something like that together that we can put on our website or somewhere else, not saying anything about who's being recommended for reappointment, but in that respect, you could leave it out so that if somebody wants to make an application, they could, and then you can make the determination as to whether or not that's appropriate. But I think that it would be useful to the village to have people being aware of what openings are coming up, because a lot of times, particularly for committees and these kind of things, a person doesn't make that decision overnight. So the fact that they see it one time and see there's an opening doesn't mean they're going to apply. But if you give them some advance notice of some things, they may think about it. So let me work a bit on that and come up with some kind of proposal to you to deal with.
And we do have that listed on the overall that Liz has available. Maybe we can just simply state on there. I mean, we have it all posted as to what comes up when, and it is on our website, but we could, I encourage people as the time is coming.
I think that's a good idea. I also do believe that the way the planning commission seats are staggered is that we should have at least 1 or 2 commissions that will be coming due every year. So we have the opportunity every year to make the community aware that there's these openings coming up so they can apply.
Right. I like that idea that you research that, and also it's like, based on the size of our community, it's like, is it prudent to have 7 or could we do 5? Just overall, take a look at the local communities around us and see, of comparable size and see that. But I think having a sign of the vacancies out there, I think is a good format to follow too, because then we all know when the commissioners, and they know when their terms are expiring as well, so that we're not in this situation again, so that there's continuity throughout and we don't have a lapse where commissioners haven't been reappointed or that position filled. And, you know, like in April, if we know somebody's term's expiring in June, we can already start getting those positions filled or reappointed or whatnot, rather than having a lapse. So is it fair to say that we've been operating with the planning commission, I don't know the meeting minutes, that we've been operating with 5 since June, since they expired? Because if they expired, then they would.
Typically, they remain
They remain until
replaced.
they're appointed, okay.
So even though they're expired, they're still.
They're still acting
I
commissioners?
think in the absence of our village manager, it got overlooked that their commissions were expiring in June. Otherwise, this probably would have come to us.
This happened also last year.
It did, and then, but the thing is, not only, I mean, I would think that the chairperson would know, the commissioners would know, the clerk would know, and the village manager as well, but the village manager gave notice in April, so that still would have, he still should have known that, you know, in April, but yeah, I think that Dale checks it out, can get back with us.
Good notes for future.
I think that's one of the reasons we're looking and reviewing the bylaws, so that we are a little bit up to date and clear on exactly what we should be doing and where we stand.
Yeah. Well, 'cause I was looking for the bylaws actually over the weekend, and I couldn't find any bylaws. All I could see was the resolution that said that we instituted a planning commission back in 1976. And so, is it a fair statement that you never had bylaws before? You were just, you were going by the governing, by the general law village?
I think that Bill Sprague actually brought to our attention that we were lacking bylaws. So we
Yeah.
did create some bylaws and adopted them a few years back, but I think that they need to be reviewed and updated.
I couldn't find them, they're not out available, so I couldn't find them. But I did find sample bylaws through the Administrative Extension Office too, but anyway, so, all right, well, that's good to know.
But if there are bylaws, could you share those with council then for us? They have planning commission share those?
I thought they were 2012.
The only bylaws I were ever able to find were the draft copies that,
Like
Katie started
that's when they were-
in 2016.
See, I could find
So they're-
where it said that it's going,
Never adopted.
that came up in 1976, we, came up with that, but then it said that they followed the General Law Village Act under the zoning, so.
Yeah, it could be that we had those back when Mike was management, when he left, that didn't get pursued after. I don't know.
Okay.
But we definitely have, I think just like as we're finding with council, we definitely are finding things that we maybe need to update because our past practices, maybe we're not fully in compliance with what we should be doing. So just like the council, the planning commission is also running where, hey, you need to dot our i's and cross our t's and stuff like that. So I think it's good that we're bringing up these topics, and it will help us get more in compliance with what we should be doing.
I think it's good that Dale's on board because he's going to be some glue here to hold this all together.
Brings attention to the things that we might be missing of your past experience.
I mean, when I was on council before, we were operating a lot differently than we are today, but there's been a lot of changes some of the laws have changed since I was last on council. A lot of things I think we were not aware of, we're not really following so closely because we were a lot less formal back in those days.
And I think
So let's
it's
look
great to
around to
have
the
a-
planning commissioner reappointments, and we can kind of keep that on the burner to look for maybe September for Dale to kind of give some ideas and options.
And I think it'd be great too, it's like, an interim for that it's staffed with the 5 or the 7, so that when Lee does actually retire from the planning commission, the rumor that he's announced that he's retiring, that the next chairperson, that there's a competent chairperson to be able to preside over the meetings and keep order. I think would be great to have.
So being that this is an agenda item, I'd like to make a motion that we table the planning commissioner reappointments until Dale can get back to us with alternative solution for posting open positions at the village.
I would support that.
Just my comment, you're fine to do that if you choose to do it, but what I'm talking about is what we're gonna do ongoing in the future. For the present time of appointing 2 people who are willing to serve.
Yep.
If we set something out tomorrow, we would have to give a date 30 days down for people to apply. And so you might be better off to make this appointment and then get a future program. Just a thought.
For you, I know there is a motion and it's been supported.
I have a question about that. What would be the status of the current commissioners whose terms have technically expired? Would they continue to serve on the
Stay
planning
on.
commission until the table motion is revisited? Would we continue them in their current position as active commissioners then?
That's outside the motion that I made, and certainly that's something up for discussion of council. My motion does not cover that option.
Okay, because I think that's important that we continue to allow them to continue to serve on the planning commission until we have some kind of resolution for that.
Well, I would sure like to see that because I know that both of them are involved in activities that they're currently working on. I know Patty has signed up to work on the wayfinding committee and would enjoy doing that, and I would sure hate to see the projects that they're both have ongoing right now and not accounted for and not appreciated.
Well, we've been wayfinding for quite a while. We haven't gotten that far. We don't even have anything to look at.
Well, that's on our list, DDA and
It's been on the-
Planning Commission have both already chosen the people for the committee, and then we need to choose one tonight, and then they're gonna start meeting today. So that is something that was going, and I'm not saying that's a certain reason to appoint Patty. What I'm saying is the passion that they're showing and the things that they are already involved in, it's absolutely ridiculous to sit there and look for. If you want to fill a position, then I'm more than happy to step down and we can fill that position. But to take 2 people that are perfectly capable and passionate about their jobs and remove them is ridiculous.
I agree.
So if we'd like to post for a position, I'm more than happy to have mine filled.
Thanks, Dan.
At this point, there's a motion, and the motion's been supported at the table.
We need to call the question.
And I'm sharing discussion on that motion. Is there any other discussion on the motion?
I'm with you, yes, Mary, as far as going with the recommendation of planning commission, that you're very confident that you already handles your point. Period. I know if I was sitting out there and I'm hearing this kind of discussion, I would toss it in. I don't think it's counterproductive to get people to be on the planning commission.
Excuse me, Pat, could you speak up? I really can't hear you.
I think this motion is counterproductive to getting a successfully running planning commission. I mean, this is the planning commission that work with these people. We know them, I know them, and I respect them, I respect the job that they do. If I was them, sitting there right now, I'd be up and out of here and give me a finger and say, that's it. It's ridiculous. They should be approved. This should be rubber stamped, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, another item that I believe was brought up is that we wanted Dale to check to see if we even need to have 7, as opposed to, like, we're such a small community. When we look at.
That's in the future. That's in the
Then you would,
future.
right, not renew the next 2 if that was a consideration.
That's in the future.
I mean, they're not even done with the master plan yet, let alone the zoning ordinances that is the next line, which starts in September, which, is going to be hours and hours and hours with bills. So I do not recommend going down to 5 people in the middle of a big 2 big projects, one not finished and one starting.
So I'd like
But
to
that's
make-
just my
I'd like-
opinion.
I'd like to make a comment that this is in no way personal attack on any one of these 2 candidates, because we know they're model citizens, they've been around forever. This is about creating opportunity for other potential village residents to partake in our village politics and planning commissions, et cetera. So to have the same people in for 40-plus years, you lose something after 40-plus years. Trust me, you do. And that's what this is about. It has nothing to do with the credibility and their character, because we know they're very good people.
So both of them haven't even been on 2 years, You've been on how many years, and you're going to sit there and argue that you need a new person. But yet you keep running as well, and so do I, because it's something you're passionate about and you continue to do.
So I'm
you
voted
can't
by
use that
the
argument.
people, I'm not voted by the 7 people here, all right? The people voted me in, and that's, I mean, it's no different, right?
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion?
We've done, just to make comments, like we have requests, this isn't anything that is new. We've requested this from DDA directors about posting, and we've requested in the past for planning commission. So it's just following the same process that we've done in the past, that's all. And it's not about the personnel, it's about the position, the business side of it,
So when DDA sits empty with multiple seats that you did not reappoint to, we did not reappoint to. Planning commission, you denied somebody, we denied somebody, and months later she was reappointed and we lost 3 months with. So this isn't, what the procedure is, what is brought forth to us from people that do the work and know the job, and they have said these are the people that we want in there. It's not our job to deny that. It's our job to have faith in the people that are doing their job.
I also think it does not work well to help build trust between our bodies of the council and the planning commission when the planning commission has a clear recommendation and would want to see these people renewed in their appointments, and then we turn around and don't follow their recommendation, because they obviously are quite satisfied with the 2 that are on the planning commission right now. I think it's sort of an affront to the planning commission and to the chairman to table this or to deny their reappointment. I do agree it makes sense to make the opportunities available to the community. I like Dale's proposal to do that, but I think this is not the time to deny these renewals because they're already overdue. And as of June next year, we will have more opportunities, and as Tanya stated, she is willing to step down and give opportunity if there's somebody who wants that opportunity.
Any further discussion? No? All right. Liz, would you mind reading us the motion? We'll vote.
There's a motion to table reappointments until Dale can investigate how to post upcoming positions. Was that pretty much how you wanted it?
Motion.
To seek out, seek out other potential. We might end up with the same 2 candidates if nobody steps forward, right?
To table reappointments until Dale can investigate how to post upcoming positions and seek out potential candidates.
All right.
Supported by
Yes. Motion by Councilman Ashman, supported by Councilman Butsu. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
So is that a 4-3?
Yes.
Can I give a hand vote? I didn't see it.
It's
Let's do a roll call
Mark,
vote.
Mark,
I call for a roll
Colleen.
call.
Okay, that's fine. We have a roll call vote, please, Liz.
George?
No.
Hayden?
No.
Robinson?
Yes.
Skornica?
Yes.
Price?
No.
Butsu?
Yes.
Ashman?
Yes.
So motion carries 4-3.
Just to clarify, so that motion didn't have an end date, so it's just good with the 30 days, is that what we're doing then?
But
Okay.
maybe, I mean, Dale might.
When he comes back,
Dale
okay.
comes quick, so maybe we'll have some.
Okay, or I was just wondering like for an end date, that's.
So Dale, can I ask your opinion? What's the status of the 2 commissioners?
I'm gonna have to look at what your enabling ordinances say and what your policy is with that and whatever you have. Typically, a person stays in their office until they're replaced,
I believe that's what it says as well.
but I would like to confirm that.
I just read it over the weekend.
Okay, well, and if that's the case, I don't think you really have to do anything. If you wanted
So as of
to
right now,
reassure
we
the
would
2
continue
that
as
are
planning
there,
commissioners
you
until
could,
such time as we revisit the table of motion.
yeah, if you wanted to reassure the 2 who are are there now, but they're past their term in, is you could make a motion to continue them in their term until they're replaced.
Okay, I make a motion to continue the two existing planning commissioners whose terms have expired, Patty Olson and Bob MacArthur, until such time as the review of the open positions has been completed.
Until their position is replaced.
Until their position is replaced.
Support.
I need clarification.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just was asking questions.
Dale, can you clarify that again?
Well,
Just say-
what I understand this motion to be is that the two people's term has officially ended.
Yeah.
And all that you're saying is you're extending their term
So they can continue to
in
serve
the interim?
until.
and on an interim basis until their replacement is named.
If any.
Yeah.
And
But-
the decision could be to replace it with them.
I mean, technically, they've been named tonight, right? So the
Well,
whole
they were
purpose of
nominated
this is to
tonight.
allow the other village residents to be able to
Yes.
voice their willingness to, okay,
But since
volunteer
we
their
did not
time, right?
renew, I just want to give them assurance that they will still continue to serve as planning commissioners until we get any other potential candidates and make a decision on the two open positions.
You know, anybody watching on video is going to see that I have a chance, I've always wanted to be a planning commissioner. I mean, they're out there, there's people that look at that. And in this instance, it's a good opportunity to give maybe that person or two an opportunity to throw their hat in and say, I'm out here, I'd like to do it. It's just a consideration. Yeah, I mean,
A year ago, we talked about
personal at all.
Yeah.
We did.
Can I ask a question then?
Tanya?
If there was, if.
Do I get an
the position-
opportunity?
Yes.
No, no.
Did you have,
was a drop in the book, right?
That's out of order.
did you have any question or anything that you had for us, or we can't really
Yeah,
have?
I don't even expect an answer from any of you. I just want to clarify something that, and when I got on that planning commission, it was about 4-year planning. I wanted to be part of that. And I found out it to be very complicated, very complex. Matter of fact, there's several of you board members that had sat up there and said, you know, it's very in-depth. I don't have time to read all this, trying to put it together. We spend a lot of time, for us new people, trying to put that together in our head. And I found out being on the planning commission wasn't so darned easy. It's very technical on a lot of other issues. I've spent a lot of time with planning commissions and testifying in front of zoning boards and planning commissions with the fire department. I've done it forever. I've never had to be on the other side to present all that. And I find out that being on that planning commission, just going to the meetings does not make you a good commissioner. There's seminars, there's things that you have to spend money and time to attend, and you're gonna sit there and tell me in 2 years, somebody else warm and fuzzy can be appointed and I'd be let go. I'm sorry. I don't need it. That's not what I got on it for. And I think you're making a big deal out of something. I think you need a list. Because I know when I got on, it was difficult trying to find somebody to fill Dave's position, who was a very good friend of mine, and I know he's a good commissioner, and I thought it would be something that I would really like to do for the rest of my time on Earth, and participate with it, not to be just some little 2-year program that when somebody else wants to be on that commission and wants to get on it, that's good. I would prefer you leave it tabled and let me and Patty, who I can't speak for now, think about it.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I would also like to add that I think that if we do open it up, I think that before we decide what potential candidates should be added into the planning commission or appointed to fill positions, I think that those potential candidates should go before the planning commission and have them interview them and.
Well, they
talk with them
recommend and then we
recommend
approve.
to us
Exactly.
who is good, which they already did by recommending these two commissioners.
So we'll post, and then it will go in front of the planning commission if anybody's interested, and they can interview, and then it will come back for approval.
From My motion in the interim is to allow the 2 existing commissioners to continue in their position until such time as we have a recommendation to fill the open positions.
Support.
So further discussion, the planning commission, no different than this council here today. There's a reason why there's term limits for every one of us, me included, everybody on the planning commission included, okay? And that's such that it doesn't create a biased atmosphere of the same people being on the same board for who knows how long. So the opportunity, to bring this opportunity for other village residents, and there may not be any, all right? There may not be any. But to at least give those residents the opportunity to step forward and say, hey, as Council Butchu indicated, that's something I would like to be a part of too, all right? But to make it, okay, for a lack of a better word, a good old boys club so that you're on it for 40+ years is wrong. It's
The
wrong.
2 commissioners in question have not even been on it 2 years. So I can't see how you're
I'm
going
talking
to
about
to the 2 in question.
And I'm not comfortable talking about Lee when he's not here, when all he has done is positive things for this
I didn't
community
say anything about
100% of
that.
the time. He's the only person that has been on here long-term.
He's been, that's what I'm getting at. I didn't want to say old boy, but there are people out there that may wish an opportunity. You've said it before, Larry, in different variations. We've all said it. And I'm saying it here. Another month or so to think about this, I don't think it's off the rails at all. And it's not personal.
Well, I will say this, is that when we take actions or when we act in this way, it certainly is not going to encourage people to want to participate on a commission when this is the way we treat our current commissioners.
That's right.
Yeah. So again, we've already heard tonight, ordinances, we have ordinance issues. We know that. We've heard it tonight. Prime example, what committees are being formed on the planning commission to address ordinances such the one we talked about tonight? That should have never taken place. So my point is, by having the same people on that board, the planning commission, for so long, that's how ordinances get old. That's how ordinances do not get updated. That's how ordinances get overlooked.
Have you ever requested the ordinances to be reviewed?
Should we? Is that the
Well,
job of
yes,
the planning commission?
we are their boss,
The
yes.
planning commission should bring in that.
As the ZBA, we sure
We're
should.
their boss?
Absolutely.
As a matter of
Thank you.
fact,
You're just saying that you can't hire them right now. You're telling them no. You are their boss.
as a matter of fact, the
So-
zoning ordinances were reviewed when we had the last master plan was approved, and after this master plan is approved, we are already planning to do a full review of the zoning ordinances. So that is part of the process. The master plan comes first, then you update your zoning ordinances based upon any changes or differences in the master plan from the previous plan. And that's what we are looking into moving forward. So we are already considering that, yes.
As stated in the minutes
But
of
we
the
have a
past
motion
meetings.
on the floor. I would like to, unless there's further discussion, I would like to proceed with.
Do we have any further discussion on the motion, the current motion?
Could you reread it, Liz, please?
Motion by Hayden to continue with
said
the
something you were
2
gonna
current
say.
commissioners until such a time as the position can be filled or replaced.
Any further discussions, questions?
I'm sorry, would you reread it?
Yep, there was a motion by Hayden to continue with the 2 existing commissioners until such a time as the positions can be filled or replaced.
All right. Liz, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Robinson,
Yes.
Skornica,
If I wanted to amend it, we have to do this one first, right? Yeah, right. No.
Bryce,
Yes.
Butsu,
Yes.
Eshman,
No.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-2.
5-2.
I'm sorry, 5-2. That's a good man. 5-2. Thank you.
So that motion was until they replace or investigate it, right? There was not a date on that.
Correct.
So, okay. All right. That's what I,
Next up is our Septic Smart Proclamation. Everybody should have received their postcards in the mail. Keep an eye out that there is a discount if you choose to get that done from one of our local sponsors. Here's the code.
I have a question.
And
Was,
the
go ahead.
Septic Smart postcards were mailed on the week of August 19th. And there are assorted items, including water bottles and kitchen grease bags for the DDA bags that we'll get at Septemberfest. Shelby's agreed to put the different Did You Know in the Citizen each week, so look forward to that for September's Septic Smart
Who's
Awareness
providing
Week.
those to the citizen?
I will be
Providing what? Okay, the clerk, the did you knows. I remember this being discussed last month and that we were gonna, we still wanted to promote the septic awareness, which I think is awesome. What I didn't realize is that we were gonna still follow the Harrison Ho discount. So we were in contact with them before we put that on the postcard?
Most
Because we
definitely.
didn't discuss it, so I wanted to be sure. Okay.
I was directed by
The
the
same as
council
last
actually.
year.
to
Okay,
work with them.
okay.
I know we did talk about it.
I'm really glad to see that they are willing to do that program again this year. It's great.
And I know they even said they received township response too, and they honored that for various people.
They had such a good response to this last year. They honored these postcards going into April of this year.
And I know people were requesting, looking for it, people were asking, are we going to do that again this year? So that's good to know that we're going to have that.
And did we reach, and I know we did the Harrison last year, so it's just a question, it's not anything to do with Harrison Hall, so don't everybody think it's personal. Did we outreach to any other service to see if they could honor too, so we could get, contact Harrison and contact ABC Septic?
I
we-
did not, but next year I most certainly can.
Okay, just so that, it's not just one vendor that maybe we give an option, that's all.
Sure.
And we could also list, and if somebody chooses a discount, different discounts, they could all be listed if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. All right, can we entertain a motion?
For what now?
The
The Septic
proclamation.
Smart proclamations. You're all over that, Pat, I can tell.
Well, this is all fine and dandy, but there's still no enforcement on this. This is merely a suggestion to people to have their septic pump. Is that correct?
She's talking about this.
Correct, this is the proclamation for, and on the back of that paper,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
our
get
our
that.
proclamation.
I see. Okay. And where's the enforcement on this stuff?
We don't enforce open.
Yeah, we don't enforce.
At least it's out there.
It's out there, but we don't enforce, that's useless.
This is like the best we can do, I mean, it's just the awareness.
It's something, yeah, it's something.
It's awareness, right?
No,
Yeah,
agree,
it's
Pat,
something.
I totally agree with
So
you.
for those of us that continue to do it, we'll continue to do it every 2 or 3 years. And for
Yeah.
those of us that don't, they don't care.
So it's a
There's no
first step.
enforcement.
Right.
Maybe somebody moved in and this week.
Unless we want to ask our new.
No, this is fine. This is-
Maybe,
this is
maybe there is
fine.
something, maybe he can be creative and come up with something of how we could enforce something like that.
Right.
So just to see what other communities are doing, we'll ask.
So basically, I've got a neighbor, just as an example, and I'm not saying this is true, but if I have a neighbor that hasn't pumped in 35 years and they're polluting my well water, I can't do a damn thing about it, can I?
Yes.
You can, it would be
You can
tested
call the
in
Oakland
the
County
county.
Sanitarian.
But
We
did-
call the Oakland County Sanitarian with a possible defective septic system, they'll come and investigate it.
Okay.
So can we
Actually, if you
entertain a
report it to
motion
the
for the
committee, they
Septic
should
Smart
forward that out too.
proclamation?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Septic Smart proclamation and participate in the Septic Smart Week from September 16th through September 20th, 2019, not 18.
Yep.
Yes,
Support.
you are correct. I may have copied that from last year.
We have a motion on the table by Councilman Ashman, supported by Councilman Skornicka. Any questions, concerns, discussion? Hearing none. Can we have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, who was the support?
It's Councilman Skornicka.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Liz, for reminding us to get those ready. And also, can you share with us the fabulous discount for printing those?
Yes, we went with Oakland Schools, who actually prints our tax bills, and they were able to give us the bulk rate. And so we, instead of paying, I think, postcards are 35 cents, we paid 26 cents for mailing. And we got a really good price on the printing.
Very good.
So we had extra printed stuff in our DDA bags.
So awesome job to you and Beth for working on that.
And Dale's gonna look, I don't know if everybody heard, I think there's other chatter going on, but Dale's gonna look into and just to explore any options of how we can enforce the subject. Just to explore anything. Make sure it's getting all the way down to the table.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have the CBD oil discussion, and that is that a local pharmacy is considering moving into the vacant space next to Fit Body Boot Camp. They sell a line of CBD oil, and they wanted to make sure that council would be okay with that prior to signing their lease agreement. The CBD oil does not contain any THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana. It's used as a natural healing agent for aches, pains, and swelling. And Liz was able to have a discussion with Lieutenant Glover, who has indicated that it does not cause a concern for them.
So who wrote this right here, that it does not contain THC?
I did,
So where did you get that information from?
from Lieutenant Glover.
Did you know that if you took a drug screen test with the company and you solely used CBD oils, that you would fail that test?
Oh.
Actually, I was told the opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite. And it's actually used, they use CBD oils for addictions, and it counters the addiction. It does not create an addiction. So it does not show
That's
up.
not a true statement.
It is a true statement,
So
scientifically based.
I'm just going to talk. If anybody recognizes Bill Nye the Science Guy, all right, very, very science-oriented, data-driven man, right? Go online and pull the data up on his review, okay? So for those that don't know, obviously it's an extract of cannabis, right? And as you extract the THC, all the THC, supposedly there's 0 THC left in these oils, right? And there's probably a very, very extremely small amount, but yet it cannot be a 100% to say that it's probably so small you can't, you're not going to feel the effects of it, all right? So to me, okay, we made a decision way back when to eliminate the sale of marijuana or cannabis in the village limits. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing for people. I do know there's healing agents. I do know it's a drug that people use to help them through certain things. But the fact that it is an extract of cannabis and it is linked to other things, not just healing powers, right? So I'd hate to see this facility, how would we monitor it such that it doesn't migrate to selling marijuana in the village? How do we monitor that the oils that they are using is free of THC? How would we do that? Would we be able to do that? Probably
The
not.
law does that.
No, the
It's up to
by
the
Food
law.
and Drug Administration
It's-
already.
CBD
FDA already
oils
regulates
is not a
CBD.
drug, it's an
And it is
oil.
allowed by FDA.
The federal government illegalizes cannabis, right? The
Yes.
federal government
But
does,
it,
all right?
but
The
CBD
federal
oil is
government
not
does
illegal.
not,
They
does not
manufacture and
regulate.
sell it in a lot of places.
They do, the
They
Food
do,
and Drug
they do, but
Administration
the federal government
does.
does not regulate marijuana. They've got it, it is
CBD
against the
oil is
law.
Point
not
of order,
marijuana.
take it one at a time.
The federal government, it's listed as a class 1 or class A drug, right? There is no testing with cannabis right now because of the designation the federal government gave cannabis. There's very limited knowledge to this drug right now. The only way you're going to get this knowledge is to go to, I think Israel might be the only country that's probably the leading edge on any of the testing for marijuana, THC, and
And this is not anything
But my
that's
point
at all
is,
that.
we don't know enough about it here in the States, and there isn't testing about it, other than to hear from others that say that there are healing powers about it.
I have a question. Has any of this gone before the township? Did they try to go into the township? Did
They
address
currently
it?
operate in the township.
Pardon me?
They
There
do.
are- Already
This
is.
pharmacy is in
Yes.
the township.
So it says a local pharmacy is considering, so they already have a township office location, they want to move into the village.
Okay.
If I could state some additional information here. First of all, before we start making claims that CBD oil tests positive, I would like to actually see the factual data behind that first. My understanding is that CBD oil is not extracted from the same plant that marijuana is. It is in the hemp family, but it's a, hemp is in the same family as marijuana, but it has almost no THC. And I believe that much of the CBD oil is from hemp plants that are very low in THC, not the type that is used for medical marijuana or other marijuana, recreational marijuana. But I, again, don't have the full facts and details behind that. I will say this is, I do know that from having researched it some, that CBD oils, some of them may contain very small trace amounts of the active ingredient. Others do not test that.
Of THC, you mean?
Of the THC, yes. So you do have to take a look at the actual manufacturer and find out whether or not it does contain trace amounts. But I have seen that there are CBD oils that you can buy that say that they do not contain any THC. Others say trace amounts, but in any event, as you stated, it's well below any amount that would cause any type of intoxication or effect like that. I will also state that if we're talking about things that will test positive, did you know that eating a poppy seed bagel will cause you to test positive in a drug test for opiates? However, I don't think anybody would say that poppy seeds are something that we should be concerned about regulating. So I think this would fall kind of in the same category. Whether or not it may cause a positive test, I think that's something that an individual taking that substance should be concerned about. It's not something that I think that we as a council would necessarily need to be concerned about ourselves.
So my only thought is, you've indicated that there are oils that do contain THC.
Trace amounts that are well below.
And there are oils that have obviously greater amounts, and then there are oils that have lesser amounts.
It's
How
buyer beware.
would we, buyer beware?
Yeah, and then the FDA does regulate CBD oils. So I think that if the FDA says that they're okay for use for medicinal use, and they're not concerned with regulating as a prescription substance or something like that, I don't see why we would be more concerned with the Food and Drug Administration.
It's no different than us trying to micromanage the regulation of cough medicine because of the codeine and the use of making drugs in your bathroom. It's not our job.
Well, codeine is a prescription cough medicine then, if it's codeine, so you need a prescription with that.
I'd like to look up the FDA
Yeah, no,
regulation on that.
Well, no
If
different
it's
than nothing in
regulated,
your
I'd love to
bathroom.
read that, because that's not something that I came about in reviewing.
Yeah, I think that before we just, I mean, right now, I don't have the information, facts in front of me or research in front of me, but I know I have researched it because we were looking at my son has a lot of chronic back pain, and we had heard from other people that they found this to be effective in helping them with other types of chronic pain.
Right,
So
THC
we
is
have
more
researched
effective for
into
back
it.
pain than the oils are. I said THC is more effective for back pain than the
Well,
oils are.
this is,
I don't
no,
want to
it
give that to my
is,
child.
it is without the THC, it's the CBD oil itself that has those qualities, not the active ingredient in marijuana that has those qualities.
But I don't think that was something that we're gonna probably be able to sell tonight, other than maybe we table it and get more information.
We're not making a decision on it.
Well, I think this
Well,
was
before
just
the-
information.
I understand, but before they move in, before they sign it, they wanted to know if it was okay, so until we.
Yeah, if I could just say, you guys, when you did your marijuana ordinances, did not cover CBD oil, so you have no ordinance regarding
Correct.
CBD oil. They could
Understood.
move in tomorrow and
Understood,
just wanted to bring that up.
understood.
Okay, so if we don't have them, well, that brings up a good point. So would we want to, just putting that out there, if we want to explore this and research it more before we give our formal okay, so that since we're not covering it in our current ordinance, should we propose something so that we're covered until we can at least, we can always rescind the ordinance later on after we get more information, but at least we're protected until we do.
You could just do like
You-
a resolution like you
If-
did.
if I could remind council that back when our community voted by an almost 2-to-1 majority to approve recreational marijuana at the election, this council chose not to take the time to review information on that and instead opted very quickly to prohibit that and took very seriously Lieutenant Glover's recommendation in that topic. Why is it that now we want to take more time to review when Lieutenant Glover here says he has no problem with it? I would say, why not just accept?
I wish he was still here to be able to ask him a few more questions.
Well, we could call him, he probably
But
won't.
I would say, why not just accept his recommendation for this as well and say, okay, we followed his recommendation and before in the face of, in spite of the community support for it, now we have a CBD oil and we want to not follow his recommendation. I don't understand why the inconsistency in our action.
Well, this is somebody's livelihood here they're moving in, it's a lease, so there's, there's a legal ramification to that. So I guess
And
I
they're
was just
already
putting up
legally
there.
operating and selling this already within the township.
Sure.
They're just only concerned, is there any concern with the council? For me, I have none. If Lieutenant.
I mean,
Glover
I
has
personally don't
nothing,
know, and, I guess I know about the THC and the CBD. I don't know if it's, traces, but I guess if the council, it was the consent of council to want to explore it, to find out more, then okay, great, then we can go that route. Or do we want to protect ourselves until we find out more information and put something in place temporarily until we find out more and, do a resolution? Just so that it doesn't, they don't come in and then we're stuck, so to speak. That's all. I was just trying to make sure that, protecting the village's interests.
So it sounds like everybody is in agreement that they'd like to research and bring it to the next meeting.
I mean,
I personally am very hesitant when we have no idea and we're disagreeing to make a resolution on something that we're disagreeing on and we have not educated ourselves to think we're protecting ourselves, but we may or may not be when it may be totally fine and we're not educated. I would like to see research and everybody gather up what they would like to, make sure it is make sure it is shared, and we'll bring it to the next meeting so we can make a decision after September whether we're comfortable or not with the research which we've gathered and shared with each other on both sides of the
That makes sense.
argument.
That makes sense.
how are we going to
Discussion.
share that information? Because I know
We're going to turn
the
it all
email-
into Liz, and it's all going to be in the packet. And if you want to email it ahead, you're more than welcome
Well,
to.
because
but-
emails sometimes don't get answered, so.
But
I'm
it's,
just curious.
everything is due Tuesday by 5 p.m. before a meeting, and you can go ahead and send it to Liz, or if you have it all together and you want to mail it out early, that'd be
Is
great.
this a topic we would like our village manager to look into for us?
That would be
for the next
great.
meeting?
To see what other local entities do.
Yep.
Would that be a good request from council?
I just wanted to
Hold on
say.
real quick, just for,
Sorry,
is that what council would like to have Dale do?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want one person to make, okay.
I just like to make one final comment. Way back when, not too long ago, this village, or the council, did not go against the voters of the state of Michigan to not smoke marijuana in this village. They do. They do today. You walk down the streets, you can smell it. The only thing this council voted on was not to sell cannabis in our village limits. That's what we voted on.
Yes.
That
We
was
did
it.
not go against the state law that allows people to recreational smoke marijuana. So that's for the record, all right? When you voted, you wanted to sell it, Larry and Tanya.
That's what Larry
Just for-
said.
Back at that time, I
The
made a
residents of
motion.
Ortonville voted for it.
They voted
Recommending
for
that
the
we
smoke.
get
To have
more
the use of
information and
recreational marijuana,
research
not
done before we
dispensaries.
made a decision,
Exactly.
and that was turned down. Because I had said, this is a topic we should research more thoroughly before we make a decision, and the council chose not to research that topic.
That's not a fair statement, Larry. I did a lot of research on that, so that's not a fair statement to say
I
that
did
the council
research
did
too, but
research.
we did not have research that was provided to all council for discussion at our meetings. And that is the research that we didn't have. We may have
I
done
researched so I could
independent
make my
research, but I
decision.
think it makes sense for us to have the research to discuss, that we all have the same factual information referred to prior to making a decision. We did not do that in the case of the.
So
Well,
that's our request for
that's a past
September.
issue,
It is
and
a
to
past
keep the
issue.
meeting going, we all agreed
The
that we
re-
just want to research it, and there was nothing to vote on.
The request is to
Thank you.
bring your research that you would like to and gather it up, and you can either email it ahead of time or have it into the office Tuesday before the meeting by 5 p.m. to be shared with everybody. And then, Liz, could we please have that on the September agenda?
Yes.
But what are we gonna do, if anything, should they move in tomorrow?
No, can't do it.
So, okay, so
Can't do it
there's, so
then.
we don't want to take any temporary action. Okay.
I'm not comfortable with these sudden pop-up actions without sharing this on an agenda with our residents to even have a voice when they come in here. If it's not on here, people won't show up and they won't share their opinion either way. We can't make decisions without the opinions of the people that we're making decisions for.
But yet it's on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda to decide to make
It
a
was just a
resolution or
discussion
an ordinance
topic for
to
discussion.
allow or not allow. It's just a discussion. No decisions are
I
made.
agree.
Right, but
So,
they
I mean,
could
I'm not
be
comfortable at this
participating in the
point.
discussion.
So if in September it would say, hey, and then people could come in and make,
All right, so
share their
table to September.
opinions. All right, so item G is our blacksmith shop at the Old Mill Museum.
We already spoke about that, so we'll skip that.
All right. So H would be the signage for the signage wayfinding committee, the wayfinding committee for the signage. And as we kind of briefly discussed, DDA has chosen the two people that they would like to see on the committee. Planning Commission has chosen the two people that they would like to see on the committee. And now it's down to Village Council. And according to our rules and procedures, we are able to, as a council, if we choose to appoint somebody to be on that committee as well. And if we choose to do that, for us, we need somewhat of a time frame. We can extend that time frame at any point, but we do need to have a time frame if we do this temporary committee. So that's kind of our discussion as to
Who are the
we'd like to
members on
see
DDA
and-
and Planning Commission?
Pardon?
Who are the members on DDA and Planning Commission?
Planning Commission is Patty Olson and Melanie Nivelt, and DDA is Courtney McLaren and, what's the other one? Oh gosh. They haven't approved it at their meeting yet. They sent out a request because this was done after the meeting. You know what? I don't have the answer because it hasn't been approved until they meet next. So, sorry, I don't remember the other one. It was a request of who is interested, and, you know, they each had said that they'd like to appoint two. They don't want the whole committee doing it, or the whole board doing it, because obviously 5 million different responses and answers. So they have representatives, and then, you know, go from there. So for us to do it, we would have to specifically approve a subcommittee, appoint somebody, and give a time frame.
When would they
That's what we'd
meet?
like to do.
When would they
That's
meet?
up to them to decide as a committee what's best and when meetings are and things like that. So, yeah, it's just up to whoever, you know, the group of 5 of them to say, hey,
I was
this is when and where.
envisioning somebody coming in with some signs and saying, what do you think? You know?
And that's what they'll get to, absolutely. They'll work with the
Well,
county.
Can't who's ever on there right now, just get us some signs and we could take a.
That's
look at
fine
it?
if nobody on the council wants to be, but if nobody on the council is and they're not sharing monthly updates and information and they're not giving interpretation to the county, I mean, we're gonna be spinning circles.
How many signs are we talking about?
All of the park signs, all of the street signs, all of the gateway signs, the Welcome to
Oh, you want
Ortonville
that
signs.
We're
They're
talking about-
currently taking out the Chamber of Commerce signs because that is no longer, so they're gonna do something there. So it's every signage in the village. Smaller, big scale, you're starting where I don't know, you're ending where I don't know, that's up to the committees to decide, but.
And it's not saying, okay, this is specifically the sign we'll put here, here, and here. I think it's more like the design standards for the signs, so that, you know, as these signs need to be replaced, we have a template or a design standard that we can say, oh, okay, we need to design it according to these standards, this type of font, these colors, or whatever.
And I know the discussions were at both of the last 2 joint meetings, well, this last year, the 2 years in a row, possibly doing Church and Oakwood as a gateway entrance. You know, which ones are the gateways, which ones are, all of that information. So DDA has access to work with the county, so then they would kind of come in and give ideas and et cetera. And so that's where we're at with that. If council does not feel that they would like to have a representative, they don't have to. It was just a simple suggestion that all 3 boards were very interested in this, and,
And
you
it's
know,
a
if
good
they'd
way
like
for
to
us
be.
to collaborate together
Sure.
as local government too.
But it's up to,
So
you
we're
know,
talking
if someone
about
isn't interested.
the design of a sign, not necessarily the verbiage on the sign, but the design of a park sign, the design of a
Entrance.
entrance sign.
So it's all
We're talking about
consistent.
design and the
Yeah.
shape of it and color of it and
those type of.
I've
And
even
possible
seen
placements.
communities where their street signs even can have certain design standards that they follow, which really gives a unique, interesting feel to those communities too. And I don't know if that's something that we would want to maybe consider too, is thinking about all the signage that the village puts up as having some kind of consistent look and feel, so we have a distinct character.
You're talking about stop signs and those kinds of signs, those are controlled by somebody else.
Stop signs,
Yeah.
yes, but I mean,
Yield
street
signs.
signs, I've seen street signs where, you know, the signage on your streets, I've seen them,
Oh, yeah.
different types of stuff.
Above our street light.
So I guess the first question is, are we interested in having a representative on that committee? Yes, sir?
For what it's worth, I recommend that you do have somebody on it.
Mark? Well, you think
Is that
you
what
might-
the sign was? I guess so.
Is that something that you might want to?
Well, are we
you know what,
interested
let me
in,
speak up
not
here,
who
'cause
yet?
I'm not on any committee. I volunteered,
Right.
you know, to be on whatever needed, to be, you know, I said that, whatever openings that you had, so I'm not on a committee right now, so I'll step up.
Well, thank you.
So do we want to have somebody on that committee? Is that a yes consensus? Right?
Yes.
Okay, because I got a
Think so.
couple, I'm not sure, so, all right. So who's interested in being on that committee?
I would.
Thanks, Mark.
So,
Mark can't make it, Dan will be there. Dan's
Dan's the man.
Yeah, when you're not traveling, I'll be, you'll be.
Well, that,
Okay.
that is my only concern.
But you know what,
Okay.
Because
Right.
I've been trying.
But you'll know that, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can, you're scheduling
When
meetings
he's
and you guys
when Mark will
decide.
fill in.
So,
Yeah.
we as a council are supposed, we as a council are supposed to define a possible end time for a subcommittee that's in our rules and procedures. So what can we envision to be our initial ending time for this committee? Throw a good date out there. It doesn't matter. It's
6
probably going to
months.
change.
6 months. Put it,
Which committee?
so,
The wayfinding, as a subcommittee for
March 1st.
us, we have to have
Basically,
a
March
suggested
1st, because
ending.
September 1st is right around, so 6 months is March 1st.
Everybody comfortable with that, more or less, but
Get started.
I can tell you 6 months is not going to be start to finish, because I don't even know when they can get county out, and then, you know, just sign something and bring it back to all three meetings.
It's a
But-
start, yeah, exactly.
So,
well, it's an initial, and
Right.
we can,
and we
It'll
can have
force
it
the
early
committee
too,
to
it
move along
doesn't
though.
matter
If they know
either.
it's 6 months long, it'll move the committee along.
All right.
and by then, we should have a much better idea how much longer it might take, and we can adjust things.
Exactly.
All right, so can I entertain a motion to appoint Mark with an ending date as a subcommittee for the wayfinding committee?
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
Mark, what would your motion would you like to make? All right, and then Kelly, did you want to support?
And then, of course, if he's out of town, we will,
Right.
there's a couple of us that can jump in.
All right, so the
Thank you.
motion is for a subcommittee for the wayfinding committee for
Because that is so
ending date of
close
March
to
1st
streets. I'm sorry.
with Mark Robinson.
How close is that?
Congratulations, Mark, and when DDA meets, you'll know that fifth person.
Pardon me?
When DDA meets, you'll know that fifth person, and then you guys can all,
Okay.
yeah, email and get started in.
And hopefully with
So that'll be
this
a
bond,
September
you guys
fifth.
can find some common dates that will work.
Right.
And I'll just update this.
All right, so thank you very much. We'll be excited to see what you guys have to work with. Have fun.
Did we vote on the motion?
We didn't vote on the motion. We just make them and move on. All right, can I have you read that real quick, Liz?
A motion to create a wayfinding committee comprised of Mark Robinson, 2 planning commissioners, and 2 DDA members. To expire on March 1st, is that what we
Please.
decided?
Yes.
2020.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mark. All right, so schoolhouse drainage, we did somewhat touch on that. It was specifically to be brought up. Dave Boris was not able to attend tonight, and Bob MacArthur had a chance to touch on that. So we'll continue to keep that under unfinished business and work on that. And obviously, Bob had a chance to share that too. So that was just the initial, have fun with that one.
And if I could add, under that topic, I Dan, since you're on streets committee, I know we have a lot of the streets that need to be repaired, but we all know that drainage is a very important part of that. So if there's drainage topics that come up where we feel we need to have a project to correct drainage in the areas and they are going to be a significant cost, make sure to, I think we need to make sure to get them incorporated in the capital improvement fund as soon as possible.
Yep, the two biggest ones have been talked about tonight, so.
Any type of estimate at all on the basketball, they won't know till they get in. What it might look like? No.
What,
Under the basketball court, no.
it's gonna have to be, obviously, all, it's gonna, yeah, and it's gonna be a big
That's what I mean,
hole. It's gonna be a
there was
big
no
hole, it's gonna have to be yellow banded, and it's gonna be cones, and it's gonna be.
Will they still have access to one of the courts?
Yes,
Right?
yes,
So,
Okay.
yes.
Good.
But we wanted to make sure the tournaments were over, and that's, yeah.
Great.
And I know that one is on the capital improvement plan now. I don't think that we have the basketball court over there yet, so we need to make sure we get that out of it.
All right, thank you. 13A is our municipal credit and community credit contracts from SMART.
At the last meeting, everybody had requested a budget or how the money is allocated. I did provide that to you. Candy did indicate to me that if council is uncomfortable with our motion of allocating our dollars to the township and the Parks and Recreation or the Recreation Department, we can allocate all to the senior center and the township will just take the funds from their general fund and replace our funds with the rec.
Yeah, so either way, both of those things are going to get the same funding. It's just a matter of whether our piece goes towards one or the other, and the township.
Are you saying that Brandon Township would take away, if we wanted to allocate the 1480, Brandon Township would take away 1480 from the senior center?
No, they would take it away from recreation, put it into the senior center, which is what you guys had indicated you might like, and they would take money from their own general fund to replace what we would have allocated to the recreation department.
Or they just take the money from their general fund and apply it to, if we do that?
Yeah.
Well, if I understand what I looked at, they basically have a certain amount of monies coming in, and there's this much is allocated towards the senior center, this much is allocated toward Parks and Recs. Right now, our piece looks like it's going to the Parks and Recs piece. And if we want it to be in senior center, they would just, okay, that would shift over there, and then they would shift some money there to.
That's what I thought.
And it
So
would
they take it away.
essentially, it would be the same
a
amount
wash.
for both in any of them.
That's what I
So
thought.
it doesn't really matter where ours officially goes. Somehow or another, they're both going to get the same.
Well, it matters what we
does matter.
choose to, yeah,
Well, it does matter.
represent, and it's just, if we choose to not, to
Yeah.
encourage both, then they will fill in what we don't.
Yeah.
So do we know how much money goes to the senior center and how much money goes to the
Yes,
Parks and Rec?
that was in the
Total.
documentation.
Parks and
All
Rec.
of ours is going allocated right now, if I understand what I read in the material. Right now, all of our allocation is put into the Parks and Recs piece of the budget.
We get less than $2,500 total.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's missing dollars on the Parks and Recs, right? So all they're doing is, right now, how much money goes into the Brandon Parks and Recs program now, compared to what goes into, because it looks like the senior, is this just strictly transportation, or are there additional dollars?
From the SMART contracts, these are just from SMART,
Yeah,
not
what
from
What other funds does the senior center get other than this?
We didn't request that information.
Well,
All we requested was how the
we-
SMART
we-
dollars were broken down.
Right, so if they get minimal dollars, right, and the Brandon Parks has a fairly large budget, I would like to see, for me personally, it's, making sure the money gets to the senior center if they have a smaller budget. You go over there and look at the senior center, I gotta tell you, there's no wow factor there for those seniors, that's for sure.
Is anybody interested in entertaining a motion?
to approve the municipal credit and community credit contract and transfer smart credit for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $1480 to Brandon Township with allocation to the senior center and recreation department, and authorize the village clerk to sign the contract.
Support. And any further discussions, questions?
I do agree with Dan on this. The seniors, they could use the lion's share of some help. And there's a lot that goes into the recreation, and they probably need it too. But I think the seniors are, they need some help. It's like you said, the wow factor. It's not.
Well, I think that's open to interpretation. I think they just remodeled a bunch of things, and they're very happy, and they're the ones that made the decisions on how they remodeled, and I mean, I'm there a couple times a month, and there's not, that's not what they're unhappy about. I mean, so, just in general, it's what we see and what they see might be two different things.
I guess from my perception.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, these are transportation funds
Right.
only, so
And we
it's
don't
not-
know how much funds that Brandon Township's getting for their parks and rec, and we don't know how much additional funds the senior's getting. But based off the look of the senior center,
Right.
the only upgrade is a new kitchen. All right, and I gotta tell you, we're putting voters in there now. I sat in line in there, and I gotta tell you, I spent a lot of time looking around in there, and any upgrades that were in there, really, there was nothing there that said, wow, they spent some good money here. It looks like, wow, they need some money here. That's what I saw.
brought that up,
Flooring
too.
in there, which was really nice, I think.
But I get that.
But like Liz says, it's for transportation
I know.
only. Between both of them, it's transportation. It doesn't improve parks, and it doesn't improve the senior center.
But I agree with Dan, it's like when I was in there too, I thought, wow, this needs to be updated. And then when I made that comment just a month or two ago, they were like, no, they just did updates, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
wow,
And they
okay.
did, and they're happy with what they have, and they chose what they have, and they were all involved in it. So like I said, we kind of have to,
And we can always
Let them do their
allocate
thing.
future CDBG dollars to the senior center. That-
And you all do understand that if you adopt this contract, you're sending all of that money to Brandon Township. From that point on, you can say anything you want to say here, but once it's gone to them,
They do it.
they do
They
what
do
they
whatever
want.
they want with it.
Yeah.
But it's in relationship to the cost of any of these things, it is a prudent thing to do, to send it on to them and let them do it. And you can express to them your concern with those things, but I don't want you thinking that if you say to them, well, you know, I want this much going here and this much going here, it's gonna happen, because it may not.
I believe they will honor our wishes. I know they said if we don't choose to do it a different way, they will go ahead and fill it. I think their concern is, you know, that both are covered, but
Yeah, both of the
we can
line
ask
items,
for requests that it's been done.
both of the line items do have general fund allocations from the township, so it's exactly what they said, is if we shift and we say, well, we want it applied to this instead of that, they'll just adjust their general fund allocations to keep the balances the same either way.
So there
So
was a motion.
a motion was made by Councilman Buxton, supported by President Bryce. And Liz, could you read it real quick because we'll do a roll call.
Yes, there was a motion to approve the municipal credit and community credit contract and transfer smart credit for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $1,480 to Brandon Township with allocation to the senior center and recreation department, and authorize the village clerk to sign the contract.
Thank you. All right, and Liz, could we please have roll call?
Skornica,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Eshman,
No.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carries 6-1. And next up is B, and that is our master plan approval. And Liz, do you want to give an update?
I was hoping to have the updates that we provided to McKenna back to pass out to you tonight. I do not have them. I did receive earlier today, probably around 2:30, the updated maps. So I've not even had a chance to look at it. I am also still waiting on the last 3 invoices to be itemized. So we have an outstanding invoice with them that we have not paid because I've asked 3 times for it to be itemized.
Lessons learned.
Hard lessons learned.
All right, thank you. And C is our interim staff pay increase, which we have tabled until we have a manager in place. So Dale will have a chance to review the reviews, which were done by Bill, and have a chance to sit down with the employees and bring something to us hopefully in September. And we can get this off of our unfinished business.
Can I ask that when Dale does those reviews, also pull how much overtime was generated during that time period where there was no village manager? So the overtime would be such that it would be directed towards any additional support due to a missing village manager.
So May to August.
By staff, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's not that many people, right?
And the reviews you said were done by Bill, and I don't know, and maybe when Dale gets his hands on it, who was outreached to for input, because usually it's like, you send out for comment, to somebody on fire, township, council, but I don't recall receiving anything
For
from.
manager, not for his staff. He does his staff and
But
then the
they're-
manager.
But because they're the clerk and the treasurer, they're officers of the government here, yeah, that's not uncommon to send out because they're officers.
Well, then we would need to look at that in our policies because that's not what's done, so we need to make sure to change that if that's something we'd like to do as a process. So we can put that.
But it's not
as
too
something
late to
look
do that. We don't need a process to say that that's what we're going to do. We can just request it. We don't have to have a formalized process to say that we want to provide input to the clerk and the treasurers, since they are our officers.
All right, anything else on the interim staff? Grace? All right. Next up is the Crosman Park drain, which we moved, and our trash hauling ordinance discussion.
I was contacted by Waste Management who indicated they had not heard from the village. They found out about our change in date from one of the residents. And I did get letters out to everybody. I think I provided you all with copies of the letters and where they were sent. It was my understanding that the village president notified all of the trash haulers via phone. I sent letter notifications out. Waste Management in particular is seeking an extension until January because they took over a lot of odd jobs customers. And they indicated that in January, Lake Orion will be transitioning to a single waste hauler and that they will have freed up a lot and would more easily be able to move to Monday waste hauling. I was also contacted by a resident who said they have Advanced Disposal who claimed they had not heard about the switch to Mondays. And again, the village president reached out to all of the trash haulers and they all received letters in the mail. So
Before the August 14th letter, you're saying that Tanya called each one of them and Tanya can confirm that. And then they're denying that they received a phone call from council and you sent a letter as a follow-up. So when we did the ordinance, a letter did not go out once we made that ordinance at the meeting. We did a phone call rather than a written. Is that correct?
correct. I was
The written was
waiting,
a
yeah,
follow-up
I
afterwards.
did not have the names of all 4 trash haulers.
Okay. Okay.
And I did receive contact back from all but one, as I stated at the last meeting, and this is Waste Management, and they are the ones that did not return the call. Advanced has returned the call, and we've had conversation with Advanced, and I did not hear about Advanced. Waste Management, the residents were concerned that they had not contacted, and that's when I called back to leave a second message, that's when they called you.
So you left a message to Waste Management. What was that message?
That as they already knew this was going into effect, this is the date it was going into effect, that we would like, which obviously I said, a call back to share the information, and then we were going to be mailing out the ordinance.
So the message that you left was in fact specific to?
Exactly, yes,
Okay.
which, and they've
And you
known
had
about, they've
prior
been involved,
advancement
they've
to
been
the-
involved in this the whole time, yes. So, but again, they did not return the call. So they are a little different to me than advanced. So that's two different things to
They
me.
chose not to.
What
Right.
was our ordinance? When did we do that?
We published it in the newspaper, I think, the first week of August, or right
It was our
after.
July meeting.
Okay, so just following that, and then we have to post it for 30 days, or the 45 days, right? The 30 days?
It can be 30 with.
Okay,
with that
so,
to the
so
board.
after our July meeting of the 22nd or whatever it was,
Yep.
it immediately got posted in the paper, the first available printing.
Yep.
And then when were phone calls made?
The day after,
Okay, so.
Tuesday morning?
Okay.
yes.
And then the phone calls back and forth, and then the letter on August 14th.
Correct.
And did you talk to somebody from Advance?
Yes.
And
I
they
talked to
can-
the three but the one, which is what, as I updated at the last meeting, I talked to everybody but the one, and that is, like I said, that's.
So we got confirmations from all waste haulers except, and even including Waste Management, but the only waste hauler that cannot support the Monday pickup is Waste Management.
At this time.
At this
Right.
time.
They service 50 to 60 residents in the village.
And all of them said that they would have no problem switching when we initially talked about it. Bottom line is, right now, they're not able to switch. They've been able to be on Friday for how many years? What's the difference of waiting 3 more months?
Well, I have an ordinance for Monday then. We haven't reduced the number of trucks on our road, and now we're gonna just delay multiple trucks. And the whole purpose was because our roads are just deteriorating, right? So, here it is, now into January, you're just adding more trucks, and it's really defeating the whole purpose of the ordinance from the beginning.
So we're asking them to work with us, and we make a decision in July and say you must obey by September. They're asking for 3 months to go ahead and follow the regulations. I don't think that's ridiculous. Rather here nor there, rather they said they would cooperate and they want to cooperate. That time frame between is 3 months. We haven't done this ever in the history.
But what about the other?
I know from my past experience, that company doesn't cooperate very well with the customers. That's all I'm
But
gonna
they
say.
have, it's up to their 50 or 60 people
But
that
what about
have a
the
discussion
companies
with them.
that are abiding by our ordinance,
Yeah.
and that did change their schedules around and that prepared for it? I mean, what about the other 3 companies that are able to accommodate that? I mean, I think there should be something, that they followed it. And when we enact an ordinance and we did proper notification and postings and all of this, it's like, I think, and if they didn't return your call.
But I don't think a month notice is fair. I think it should have been at least
That's
3
according
months.
to the law.
And in terms of written notice, they only got written notice that was mailed out on the 14th. And then
Well, I would have suggested that the written notice go out immediately the day after rather than the phone calls are followed up immediately,
I
but
could
you're not
see
there.
maybe delaying a short period of time, maybe, because we did have fairly
Should have
short
contacted
notice
by
on
letter
written,
from the
but I
get-go.
think that we need to find out what's the very earliest that they would be. If September 1st is too soon for them, what about October 1st? That gives them at least 30 days to prepare.
Well, they asked for January, so that's.
I know they asked
that's
for
what they asked
January, but we can certainly go back to them and say, look, okay, if September 1st is too soon, January 1st is not soon enough for us. What can you do in the interim? Is October 1st something you can have?
And whatever we do with Waste Management, we should do with every other hauler we have in this
We
village.
delay it, we say, okay, we're granting these guys until October 1st, so we should offer the other ones, say,
That's
okay.
right.
I'll go as far as that, but I won't go to January, so.
I
I
won't go
don't
to
agree
January
going to
either.
January
I feel that we follow the rules, the procedure, the ordinance and all that, and they're just, I don't know, maybe strong arming, I'm not really sure, but the other companies are able to accommodate and follow our ordinance. I'd be willing to extend it. I really don't want to extend it at all, but to be gracious, it's like, okay, I would do it 30 days, but certainly not till January. Mm-mm.
All right, so we're-
October 1 would all be that I'd be flexible with.
And we also have those Waste Management customers that don't even want to switch to Monday. So does it hurt to let them have 3 more months to adjust?
Hey, I don't want to switch
Not
to Monday
necessarily.
either.
See, that's
It's a
my
big
point.
deal, but
I'm just
it
saying,
is what it
for
is. There's
argument's
an ordinance
sake.
out there, we have to
That's
switch.
fine,
Right?
but that's okay, because we wanted to get down to 1 day, so I have to change.
Pat, did you want to switch to Monday?
No, I did not.
So if the consensus is to make a motion, then I'll entertain a motion.
I would like to hear if our village manager has any thoughts on this topic.
Well, I think if they've asked to go to January 1st, and if you're not happy with that as a majority of the board, then pick another date, and we can let them know that we're willing to make that. I don't think you should say we're willing to make that change. I think you should make the change to some date, so we can tell everybody at once. It's not gonna be September 1st. I mean, remember, this is the 26th. So it's not gonna be September
Exactly.
1st. It's gonna be October 1st or November 1st or whatever date you wanna pick. And that's the compromise we're willing to do. We'll move it that far,
Yeah.
but we won't move it all of what you're asking.
And then in the meantime, those that, if there are companies that still can't meet that date, it allows the residents that have that hauler to change haulers if they need to.
And I also think that what we do is when we make this motion, we should also follow up immediately tomorrow with a new letter out. to-
Agreed.
Agreed.
I think the letter should always
The
what,
letter out.
yeah, if it's not documented, it's not done. Good rule of thumb.
Well, when we requested it, the other one already switched, so it was just the other one switching over. The one way back in spring said, okay, we'll switch to Mondays, no problem, and already switched, so we just have this issue.
I like the recommendation of the 30-day extension, and I also like the recommendation of the mailer following tomorrow, but because of this and the nature of it, I'd like to maybe recommend we do a certified letter to each of those companies.
And I would suggest that we, address it to maybe, dear business owner rather than the trash hauler, just, dear business owner, or to whom it may
Or we
concern.
know the trash hauling
If we know the
companies, so
contacts,
we
the
address it
owners.
as such.
They have some problem with the certified letter in that regard. It's gotta
Oh, they
be
gotta sign it,
somebody
right.
to sign it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And sometimes on the website, they'll have somebody's contact name, so you might be able to check the website and look for contact.
I think we
We
need a
we have
certified
all the
letter.
contacts.
Yeah.
Notifying Waste Management by email in the morning. I already told her that. She's been calling me every day.
Are you gonna do an email?
To Waste Management in particular.
And then send out
But then
a
it's done,
letter.
follow the letter?
Yeah.
But you're going to make that communication to all the haulers, right? Not just
Correct.
Waste Management?
I'm gonna do what you directed me to
Depending
do.
on what you, yes.
Right, yeah, so she was, I think, gonna do the email because they're waiting for a response, but I can understand maybe to do that, but the letters, the certified letters, I agree that we need to get those out.
I mean, for what it's worth, if you got a response right away from an email, that's just as good, right? So,
But I think having the hard copy go to all of them.
Sure.
I think the uniformity, so everybody, we sent
That's
letters
true.
out to everybody, certified letters out to everybody, and we have it all.
So we're changing with everybody the September 1st date. We're not just allowing the company the extension?
Correct.
everyone.
Correct.
We should allow the same extension for all the trash haulers.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, maybe you should call it an extension and not a hard switch date.
Because our ordinance already says something.
Right,
so
so we're
Switch
We'll
over.
just,
Keep it
we'll
ordinance,
just
we'll
waive
just
the,
30
we're
days
just, yeah, we're waiving,
October 1st.
yeah.
That's fine.
And then
Effective
I would
date.
also recommend that the email, all the haulers be on that email, not just Waste Management.
Yes.
All haulers should be on that email.
Well, I don't have all of their email addresses. I just have Waste
I'll give them
Management.
to you.
I think she was just,
Connie says she has. it.
Oh, okay.
I think she was just doing the email
I have the
to them
owners.
because they're waiting
I
for the
don't-
response, but then the
But
letters.
we have to do equal respect for those who's already ready. We gotta let them know.
I have the owners, not the actual.
We should-
And if
I think they
we
should
phone
go to all the
call,
owners.
Office.
If we don't have an email, we could do the phone call instead as an immediate notice.
All right. All right, so what is the consensus? What do we come to?
I make a motion that we extend the current trash hauling pickup dates extend to October 1st. For, and,
Solid waste ordinance effective. Use that one. That's what we're doing.
I'd like to make a motion that the Village of Ortonville amends the solid waste ordinance effective today's date, right, August 26th, to extend,
It was effective
It
September
was
1st, so
effective
change
September.
it
I'll
to
just
change
give you
it
the, to use the solid waste ordinance.
If you amend the ordinance, then we have to publish it in the
Yeah,
paper.
Yeah.
all right, so we're just
Seems like
we're just extending current trash hauling pickup to October 1st.
I have a motion to grant extension of the waste hauling transition to Mondays only, to October 1st, 2019.
Is Monday October 1st, by any chance? Whatever that first Monday in October would be, that would be the day.
Well, we had
But should we
September
use
1st, we should just,
Solid
October 1st is
waste
30 days.
extension rather than, because that's what the name of the ordinance, should we use solid waste rather than trash hauling?
Sure.
Can I have my letter back so I can keep my packets?
So the first Monday in October is the 7th.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna say October 7th?
Yeah.
Okay. What year?
And do we want to include in the motion with immediate notice to be sent to all the trash haulers?
Certified
Email and
notification
certified letter, I guess. Contact.
tomorrow, to be sent out tomorrow. I don't think that has to be in our motion, I think that just has to be understood with the office.
So we have a motion on the table by Councilman Ashman.
Support.
All right. Liz, can you read it one more time before we vote?
Before anybody got anything else?
Motion to grant an extension of the solid waste hauling transition to Monday pickup to October 1st, 2019, or October 7th.
Any other questions, comments? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
And just the side note, the consent of council is to have the office follow up with the email, certified mail to go out tomorrow.
Correct.
Motion carries 7-0. And up will be Pat sharing his Parks and Rec Master Plan discussion update.
Here's the situation with this. I was going to come in tonight maybe with 500 sheets of paper, 10 packets at 50, and I thought, I better ask first before that. I'm assuming what we're looking for on Parks and Rec would be similar to what we got from the Planning Commission on their master plan. That is whatever they have that's most current. So basically, they started out, I forget if it was 2014 or, I think it was 2014, but it's 2019 now. But anyway, 2014, I'm assuming that what we want, I think all Fred's done at this point in time is maybe made some manual corrections, adjustments and things like that to that 2014. He said to me initially, he said, I really didn't do that much, Pat. So I don't think they did what we did. What our planning commission did was to ship it out and then come back with those corrections already on it. I believe what we're going to get would be roughly a 50-page packet, possibly with his handwritten notes on it. That would be our first document to look at. Is that correct? Is that what we want to do? Part of what I was thinking of doing is I'll come in with page 14, which I think relates to the village, to page 23, which relates to the village. And then I thought, no, I think if I was on the council, I'd say, what's page 22 about? And what's page 18 about? We appreciate your going through these 6 pages, Pat. But we'd like to see the entire 50. Am I correct with that assumption?
Be great.
Okay. With that in mind, I will get that packet then from Fred in the near future, and we don't have to. What we can do with that, Liz, is we can maybe just give copies to people when they become available. Right? We don't have to wait till next meeting. I think it's too long. Okay, that's fine.
Did you utilize Rick McAvich's resource for reviewing that plan?
I did. I know this. I've been in touch with Rick, and I say that goes back to walking through the park, the 47-acre park back in May. Yeah, I'll be just like I did on trash hauling when I reached out to Melanie. I reached out to Rick on this. So one of the things I'll just say off the top of our head, one of the things we both like would be, as far as advertising our parks, would be a particular flyer with each of the parks that the village has. Prospects Park and Barron Park and Sherman Park and Preservation Park. Those 4 might just be on a particular flyer with highlights on them and things like that. Just from a public standpoint, as far as knowing, I honestly believe that there still are a lot of citizens in this town that have no idea where these parks are at. I think Sherman Park, they know. they might not know it's called Sherman Park, right, if you don't know, and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, we can bring that up later, but what we're basically looking at tonight is that what I will provide us is the most recent copy that Parks and Rec has, the whole 50 pages that they've got with corrections, is that correct? And we will start from there.
Sounds great.
The Brandon Parks and Rec?
Yes.
The township.
Okay.
Sounds
I just
good.
want to be sure of that, okay.
All right. And you all have the manager's report, the DPW report. We have a letter requesting to have something from the village for the loss of Elbrooks Patterson. Please get a chance to read that in your packet. We will be sending something up from the village. And the very last thing at the very end you have is a thank you that I just was able to make you a copy of from Tom Tracy, and he thanks us very much for the tribute to his wife that's in the Crosman Park. The Little Free Library was donated by DDA, and it was a great day down there. So throw that in there.
Just one thing I would like to add with my report. You have judging for September Fest for the vehicles, and you need to have a couple volunteers for that. I would ask the council to deal with that tonight.
So if you're interested in judging cars for September Fest, send out an email and let us know.
I will most likely not be here because I'll probably be supporting that event as a certain team.
I'll be there, so I can do it.
I need to engage certain for trick or treating, by the way.
Yeah, well, now we have the official, I'll make sure I bring that up at our September meeting.
Connie, you mentioned that we would be sending something out for Elbrooks Patterson. What are we sending out?
Condolences.
Oh.
They're requesting condolences, just to officially to, and I just wanted, make sure everybody got a copy of, if you'd like to send one, you're more than welcome to, there's an address there. All right. How are we doing? All right, so did we want trustee time, or are we after 10 o'clock?
It's after 10 o'clock. We started at 13 after, so technically we have until 10:13 before that.
We started at 6.
So shall we have any public comment?
Well, that was a separate meeting though.
Public comments from anybody in the public? No?
It's Philip.
All right. All right, anything that we need trustee-wise?
Well, actually, I was not at the specific meeting where you had apologized on behalf of council and all the meetings and everything. And then shortly after, I saw it publicized in the Citizen, and there were comments made by you, by Dan Ashman, and only partial comments made by Mark Butson. I've seen that because I know that I spoke to him afterwards, and he had additional items that he said, but they were omitted, and I don't know why. So, but anyway, so I did a FOIA request, and I don't know if the Citizen also did a FOIA request prior to publishing that article. But some of the concerns that I had was the amount of meetings that each and every one of the trustees have had, and on actually, let me see if I can find it again, because I did this the other day. There's a total amount on 5 trustees averaged between $1,300 and $1,500. One trustee, that would be you, Larry, you were up over $2,200, and Tanya, you were up over $58, almost $6,000 on your meetings. And this is just in 9 months' time. And so I don't quite understand that. I know that you filled in the position as far as the missing manager in that, but wow, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, there's 78 meetings is what was recorded in just those 9 months.
Correct, and that is
so I have
exactly what I
concern with
stated.
that. Pardon me?
That's what I stated, concerns with having multiple meetings that we're getting paid for.
I know, but you read the article, it makes it sound like, it's all of us that have been doing this, and it's not necessarily the case, and that's the way I read it. And again, I wasn't here at the time, but I'm sure the public, perceived it as well in that manner, And I got to be honest, there's also 1 month
that Larry, you actually put in as planning and also as council, you put in for the same meeting. And I don't know if Beth made you aware of that.
Actually, I did get the information back from Beth. I think that was accidental, and I'm really glad that she was diligent and found that.
She did
What
not
she
find
did
it.
find
We
it.
found it through the FOIA
Okay.
information.
Well, I'm glad that that was discovered and corrected, because it appears from when I looked at the information that Beth sent me on that, that she had issued one payment that was based upon the attendance records from the meeting minutes, and then I had also submitted a timesheet where I did not submit it twice, but apparently it somehow got in there inadvertently from the attendance from meeting minutes. So I'm glad that she found that corrected. There was no intention to get paid double on that, and I'm really glad that that was corrected and addressed.
Well, and then also at the same time, I'm just wondering, I noticed on a lot of these that you, Tanya, had signed off on them and everything else, but during that time, we actually even had Bill Sprague, here, and so it was missed by at least 2 people, and then, of course, and I know for the fact that Beth felt really bad that she had missed it as well, but, I mean, I'm just saying that we got to do our due diligence, and we got to make sure that we, when we sign off on these, I mean, and now we have Dale here that will also be checking this as well, but, I mean, like I said, I wasn't at that specific meeting, but I know for a fact that, the public, they just perceive that as being, a hit on the entire council, and, I think that even though we might disagree on things as council, I think that we need to, at least try to put the perspective of us, at least one to talk, get along, and, and everything else. And I just don't know, I just, like I said, I was really bothered by it at the time, to make it sound like, every one of us were abusing that, and I don't see that as being the case. And another thing I want to bring up is, the term special meetings isn't always the case that we have special meetings. I mean, some of these have been planned throughout the year that we have. I think a ZBA is not a special meeting, it's specific, to, like the zoning board and that. I think that some of these other meetings, these joint meetings that we know we're going to do every year, I don't see that as being a special meeting. Does anybody else? I mean, I just want to put them all in perspective, you know what I mean?
No, what was brought up and recorded was the 11 special meetings compared to 3 special meetings last year, and I broke down exactly what they were for. So if you watch the video, you'll see exactly which the special meetings were for.
Okay, well, we had 2 closed for litigation issues.
Those weren't special meetings, those were closed sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was only special meetings, which if you go back and look at, record all of our past
It's
meetings,
titled
you'll see
under
it.
special meetings though, so that's not, that wasn't the case, okay.
Okay, and then like the budget and all that, there's 3 joint meetings. I thought those were all labeled as special meetings, so.
Those were the 2 budgets were
Well,
not
I
special.
think they were labeled It's right as here. special
workshop.
They were workshops, not special
Well,
meetings.
it's titled special right on the paper that we got back from.
The bottom line, there was a statement made that we were abusing special meetings, and that's not the truth. That was not the truth.
And our president's apologizing for it when it's like,
Correct, because that is an interpretation as to you feel it was important, I feel it wasn't important, we each had an opinion.
So we took interpretations as real facts. The data was pulled through a FOIA. We compiled the data, and there will be charts next month to show the actual data. So it won't be based on feelings
It's
or
not how
interpretation.
much
It'll be
money
fact.
somebody makes or doesn't make, because we do make different amounts. We do attend different meetings. It's unnecessary meetings was the conversation that was brought up. And it's an opinion. You choose to feel that it's not, I feel that it is, it's an opinion.
well then.
We
then
are
I
each
think the
allowed to have a
citizens-
right.
The citizen should post both opinions and not cut off one other person's opinion, because as you
They
recall,
pointed 3 different
Tanya, we
opinions
had.
they posted.
No, 2.5.
No.
Okay.
As you
Again, that's
recall-
your interpretation. I think she did a great job sharing what
Mark,
we all
how much
said.
of your statements were omitted?
Well, I think the very important was the last sentence or 2 that I brought out that didn't hit the newsprint, and it was kind of important to me. I kind of felt like, what are we doing? It almost felt like we were doing something wrong, and all we were doing was having meetings to clarify, and I think that's an important thing.
We're doing
So
Did
can
come
you
out
write a
with-
letter, just say
I
that
don't
then was
remember.
additional information you wanted to share? I don't think
We
that's a
don't
big
need to
deal.
write a letter. I guess some of it, after looking, it's like we did master plan, those are special, because anything's defined as special if it's not part of your regularly scheduled meetings at the time of the onset of January 1st when you publish your meetings. Anything beyond that is special. But having joint workshops are not special. They're collaborative meetings with our counterparts. The budget, we usually schedule 2 or 3 meetings in there ahead of time, so we've got them covered. So budget meetings are not special because we roll those out at the beginning of the year. We're in the middle of doing a master plan. We're in the middle of hiring a village manager, which, defining roles and responsibilities so that everybody's on the right page to be proactive rather than to have surprises after the fact. We had, of course, the budget workshops, master plan, and the village manager. Those are unique situations that are happening at that time. And one thing that I think we need to be cautious about is fiscal year versus calendar year. I'm not sure how the citizen got their information. I don't believe the citizen did a FOIA. And I think that the citizen, when they print something, they should make sure that they're reporting accurate information, not just based on what one person is submitting, and make sure that they have all the content and comments correctly to show both sides. But I do think the village president should be, it's like shining a positive effect on the council rather than the first to throw down and throw stones at the council which she resides. I think that it's imperative that we all collaborate together, and we're all in this to accomplish the goals of the residents of Ortonville, and for the village president to speak out and kind of cast a shadow on council. I wouldn't expect that of my president. And I think that the citizen has to do I think maybe a better job in clearly defining everything for both sides.
Could I have a chance to defend myself?
One second here. One more thing I want to say about the comments that you had relayed to me that you had said at the meeting, and that was, at one time, this council did, bi-monthly meetings and all that, and they broke that down, and they said, no, we'll just do it as needed. So because we had a new village manager position to fill, and then plus this year we're doing the master plan. I mean, those were exceptions that you don't usually see.
And that was brought out at the meeting, it just didn't hit the print
Right.
all the way.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I come in after the fact, and and then that's the way I interpreted it, and I don't
It's
know
just to
if
put it out there
you
and
felt
clarify
that
it.
this way, on council. Pardon me?
It was just to clarify that.
Yeah.
And one last comment then, in regards to the data from this FOIA, there are 2 council members attending the planning commission totaling $450 of wasteful money that our residents are paying, all right? There should be no reason 2 members of this council should be sitting on the planning commission, all right? That's new since the new president came on board. What's also new since the new president came on board is monthly personnel meetings. We've never had monthly personnel meetings ever, and we hold personnel meetings based off of the need, et cetera. And since June, there's been monthly personnel meetings.
That
What's
is
been going
incorrect.
on?
The personnel meetings have specifically only been for hiring a manager, and you have requested multiple things to be done by personnel that haven't even been touched yet because we're too busy hiring a manager. So we have not had monthly meetings, we've had meetings as needed and requested from this council.
There were personnel meetings in February and March, and that would have been before we were hiring village managers. So I'm not sure what's come out of personnel for during that time, but
All of the updated information that was
reviewed the
requested from the policies from the council. Bill sat down and we sat with him and created, we all signed them and voted them in. That's what those 2 meetings were. But if you'd like to pull the minutes from there, you're more than welcome to look at them and see if there's any concerns with that.
The village policies were given to every council member. We reviewed them, we marked them up. It went back to the village manager for updates.
That was
There
rules
no
and
need
procedures,
for
not
the
policies, not the
personnel
personnel
committee.
manual. That was rules and procedures, totally different.
If I could have a word in here, since my name has come up, and it seems that some people are trying to, in some way, even in spite of the talk about being collaborative and not making us look down, it seems my name has come up a couple times. I will say this, is that yes, I am on the planning commission. I was an existing planning commissioner before I ran for council. Yes, Tanya was the planning commission representative from the council. So the reason that we have two council members on there now is simply because we were both in council before. One is a trustee and one is a planning commissioner. Now we're both also on council. I think that the goal, as Tanya stated, is at some point, I think she would like to step down from that, but in the middle of the master plan, I think there was a desire not to have a disruption on that. So I think that it will return back to normal once we get the master plan, but that's up to Tanya to address. I would say that I'm also, being on personnel committee, we had extra meetings due to Dale's leaving. I will also say this, is I am very diligent about trying to make sure I'm well prepared and attend every single meeting. I take my role and my responsibility seriously. There are some members that I think probably are getting less reimbursement because they are not making as many meetings. There are ones, and I know it's not necessarily because of a lack of desire to attend, but maybe it's work-related or whatever. I will say this, is I think Mark Butts, who is at every single meeting that I am aware of, I think I've missed one meeting since I've been in these roles, because my mom was in a car accident that day and I had to go down to the hospital.
The record show that you missed two, Larry. Everybody else attended.
What did I
Record
miss?
show you only attended 8 regular meetings.
What are the two
Your time
meetings
sheet,
on
it's
this?
right off your time sheet.
Okay, because I don't know.
It's off the
which
FOIA
meeting it
data.
is.
You should go look at
They
it.
need
I'll
to get
double
paid
check.
for
All
it.
right.
Because I want, I can double check and find out, but if I miss
Everyone
two,
attended 9 meetings except for Colleen and Larry, you, Larry, but Tanya, for whatever reason, had an extra meeting.
So if I am the one on planning commission or somebody else's, what's the difference? It's not costing the village any difference in money.
Sure, we pay you $75 a meeting.
Okay, so then Larry can go off and somebody else can pick. It's the same thing. You're pointing fingers at people
Yes.
for
Tanya,
doing the
it's not
jobs that they're
intended.
doing instead of saying,
it's
you're
really
going to
came out
make
with
more
a good
because you're
point.
getting paid more. It is who is attending meetings and getting things done. Our meetings wouldn't be 3.5 hours long if we would get things done during the meeting. We wouldn't have to have extra meetings because we'd have extra time to get this done. So if we come prepared and we're fully able to attend everything in front of us and we educate ourselves beforehand, there's no reason to have these extra meetings that I'm concerned with us having.
That's not what I was trying to address. I was addressing I guess the accusation or whatever that we're, as an entire council, we're abusing this, and it's like, well, none of us really felt that way.
Well, our residents multiple residents have addressed that with me. Therefore, I broke it down and looked at it, and my apology to the residents stand because they have told us that we are not accomplishing things in the amount of time that we have. They are very discouraged with these multiple meetings addressing the same subjects. I brought it forth to us. We had a conversation on it. I know you weren't able to be there, Mark, and there's nothing wrong with bringing it up again. But it's correct information that people brought it to us, they're upset. We broke it down as to what it looks like. Nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean I'm creating contention in the council. It means I'm drawing to our attention something that we should work on and fix. That's my concern.
And I think rather than focusing on who's getting paid how much for meetings, I think that what we should do is focus more on evaluating why is it that we're not as efficient in our meetings. I think that that is the main topic or reason why this topic came up, is because there's a perception out there we're not being efficient at getting the business done of the village.
We have to stay on task on whatever is
Yes,
on
and
there.
getting
And
sidetracked
Tanya needs, as a design officer,
getting
needs to keep that
sidetracked
moving.
by trying to figure out who's made more meetings or who's making more of this. I think that's irrelevant. I would have been happy with the old pay of whatever we got for meetings before, $35.
It was never-
It was not about the
Never
pay or
anything.
anything.
You
It was
didn't
about
get it.
abusing.
You still don't get it.
I'm
It's
not-
about abusing the amount of meetings that council was having.
And that's just it. I don't think anybody here is abusing meetings. I think
Well,
that.
they
Why was there an apology made?
Yeah.
That's, I said, not
I
abusing
think-
meetings, too many meetings, unproductive meetings, utilizing too
Yes.
many taxpayers'
We
money.
did have a meeting at one point where we, right up front, before we even started the meeting, we just, there was a motion made to table half the items.
That's
because
because we
didn't
had
think
other
we were-
items that we thought we were gonna address that was
And
gonna
we
take
finished
longer.
that meeting
In an
in a
hour and a half.
little over an hour. So that meeting, we would have had plenty of time to address more of those topics, but we chose to table them up front, even though I had suggested at the time, why table them up front? Let's just see how far we get. We can always table them down the road.
That was one exception.
I would
You
like
know,
to,
We had
hindsight.
another time at a workshop for planning when we had people walk and say, I have a hard stop at this time, we have to stop by 8, which only gave us, or 8:30, which gave us an hour and a half only to work on.
I would just like to make one more point is that at the, at one of the recent planning commission meetings, I've been approached and was questioned about it, and I gotta say, I was quite shocked to say the least of how that meeting ran and how off base it became, and 2 of our council members attended that meeting and sat there and contributed to the nastiness, the negativity, without saying a word, and our village president sat there and let it continue rather than to stop it. And
I
the
don't chair that
residents-
council, and that's none of my business to chair that committee. I would
I'm
not
not
step
saying
in
to
on somebody's
chair it,
toes
but-
and tell them to stop sharing their opinion. That's not my business.
But when a planning commission meeting goes off rail, it needs to, the chairperson, it's their responsibility to rein things back in. And the residents, that asked me about that, I was like, no, I haven't watched it. And I watched it, and it was quite appalling to see all the nastiness and the negativity, and it's like, and we're supposed to be collaborative bodies joining forces and all this, and it's like, and it was just, I was appalled at the commissioners' comments and behavior and the lack of the leadership there for it to be reined back in, to get back on task, and having 2 of our members there be contributed and not to step in to say, we got, point of order, because you can clearly say, even though Tony's not your job to chair that, it's clearly, it would be your job to call point of order and get back to task and call the questions rather than for it to go off, and it didn't need to go on.
Well, that would be
So that's- I'm
something you
just
could talk to
commenting.
Lee about instead of making
commenting.
some public discussion that's unnecessary. If you're not happy with Lee's meeting, talk to Lee.
But the residents approach me and I'm like, well,
Then
that needs
send
to
them on
stop.
to Lee and have them talk to Lee if they're not comfortable with something in Lee's
I
committee.
do that.
Anything else?
I do,
Oh, go ahead.
I do have another, could you expound on the survey that was sent out through the Gmail account about that, what survey and what that's about and who's tabbing those results, and when did council consent to that survey and our input?
It was exactly as it says it is, a joint, at the joint meeting, every single person gave the input. It's all of the input from all 3 of the committees. And then
But it was
you
regarding
go
the
in.
The 2019-20 budget on
Correct.
prioritization.
Then you go in and you decide what's a priority to you. Each person decides their priorities. And then all the information's combined as to say, hey, this is something we'd like to work on or we wouldn't like to work on. If everybody decides they'd like to work on something, hey, it's something that maybe everybody should work on
Did we
together.
discuss it in our meeting though? So I mean, I guess I'm just a little puzzled as to the survey because I thought that's what the whole point of our collaborative meeting was.
All we did was brainstorm. Now, how are we
So
going to know
who
the
did you send
priorities
that
of
to?
things?
Who did you send?
DDA, Planning Commission, did you open it? Did you look at it?
Yes.
All of the information's in there.
No, it's
It went to
one copy.
DDA, it went
It
to
was copied, it was only
Planning
shows myself.
Commission, and it went to Village Council. And then it
doesn't
also
show
went
direct
to the village
recipients.
staff.
It doesn't show
It
direct
shouldn't
recipients.
show recipients.
That's-
It's in the information. If you read it, it tells you who gets it, what it's for, what it's meant
I
for, how
read
it
the general,
does.
I did not open
And
it
if
up.
you had any questions, it says to definitely email me or call me and let me know. But all of the information is detailed, what it's collected for, where it's going.
I did
who's
not open it, I
getting
did not feel comfortable opening it because I wasn't sure that maybe an
Okay.
email.
Then you can email me and let me know.
Excuse me, Tanya, please, it's like, I think you need to be fair to let people voice their things without jumping to, just settle down for a second. So when I got the email, it said Bryce for President at Gmail, so it's like, okay, that's not official village business. So then I was reluctant to open it up because with emails hacked and everything like that, I was not going to take on a potential virus on my computer. I forwarded it on to Dale to have him, open it up, and he opened up and didn't have a problem, but I could not see in my recipient email address of who it was sent to and what it was pertaining to because I just wanted the basic stuff, so.
So it was
that
sent to you
on
from
my-
Bryce. You contact Bryce if you have any questions. It's very simple. It's not a big meeting conversation.
This
It's
is just
just
trustee
simply
comments.
silly.
It's trustee comments, and this is the proper form to do it, so,
Okay.
so that everybody can hear the same.
All right, well, if you receive that, it would be great to fill it out because it's due the end of August. And then the committees are able to go ahead and get moving on what they'd like to for their next meeting. So I'd appreciate that if you could.
So in closing, before I make a motion that we adjourn, I would like to recommend next time we have a zoning board authority meeting that we do not have it on the same night as our regular scheduled monthly meeting. And therefore, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
All right. Motion by Councilman Ashburn, supported by who?
That's it.
Councilman Butsu, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?